Grim bloke. Yeah. And then, ja, bruv. Yeah. Yeah, bruv. In it. Grim bloke. Let me tell you about this one time. I went through a porthole and snuck into the North Pole and got picked up in a Hyperborean DeLorean. They said they knew I was a Webster Merriam historian, master the numerical Gregorian, the hysterical mystic, no more than a Pythagoreans. Conspiracy theory Ethereum in the etheric fear realm. I thought they were gonna take me to the crematorium in their Hyperborean DeLorean. Tested me on my Sumerian, Shakespearean. Knew I was a numerical vegetarian, Aquarian. That I knew about the Tartarians, barbarians, Mars radium, aliens. Salt of the earth, solution, Selenian.
What's up, everybody?
Spent the night in a Hyperborean chamber.
Mic check.
I looked around and thought, bruv, who hired the painter? Hyperborean memoriam, auditorium, all cause I got picked up in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Introducing all love, Jack Ruff, yeah. Invisible diamond minerals, crystalline and swimming pools, interdimensional realms of scrapping Catherine, Bahamas, Azores, Atlantis shores, mountains, temples, marble floors, seafloors, treasure and cities lost. Yeah, bruv, in it. Oh, sphinxes, pyramids and minotaurs, fruit grown in grove, luxuriant. In it. Inhabitants intelligent, closest seen to perfection. The whole experience, heaven to them, polar aurora, horizon beyond them. Flats and sky, lake of fire, core and flora, but bright comets, tornadoes, turbulence, not prohibition, more. Not forbidden, thought expansive, places massive. In it, yeah, bruv. In it, oh. Just hanging around. Yeah. Telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Grim bloke. Jack bruv. In it. Just hanging out around. Oh, Jack bro. 88892. If you didn't know, now you're forever exploring it. Interdimensional, immortal, historian, moratorium. Just hanging around telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Just hanging around. Jack bruv. Grim bloke. 8892. If you didn't know, forever exploring the interdimensional, primordial, historian, moratorium. Just hanging around, telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean.
Let's have some fun, you guys. Best night of the week. Patriots. Seattle. Welcome back, ballers. Best night of the week to another episode of Eye to Eye with AJ, Rambo, and Cody. This time, Cody did not sleep in. So welcome back, brother. It's good to have you, my man. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Glad to be back.
Awesome. Hopefully you got a good night's rest. We always appreciate you making the sacrifices that you do, getting up so late or so early across the pond, so to speak. So we appreciate you, brother. Let's dive right into some introductions. Yep, Maggie says, Cody, you made it. Awesome. We're looking forward to it. My name is AJ, also known as Balll Don't Lie, 3 L's in Ball. You guys can find my work on Instagram and YouTube. I've written 11 books over probably the last 6 years or so since diving into this work of gematria and date durations and symbolism, etc. If you guys are ever interested in a copy of any of my work, I will be more than happy to send you guys an e-copy. Just send me an email at wordplaybook, 3 O's in book, @gmail.com. I also have a Patreon. You guys can find that at patreon.com/onthemoneyball. The links are in the description below. Cody.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'll make sure this my mic is working. Hold on.
We can hear you, brother.
Okay. So yeah, thanks guys again for being here. Everyone in the chat, thank you Rambo for being here, and looking forward to everything. And thanks you AJ for putting this on. And looking forward to talking. And if you guys want to find me, as usual, you can find me on YouTube at Decoding with Cody, and then also on buymeacoffee.com/decoding with Cody. And looking forward to another great show.
Yeah, we appreciate you as always, Codes. Always. Rambo.
Yeah, thanks again, AJ, for putting this together. And thank you, Cody, for being here as well and sharing your knowledge. And I appreciate you promoting my work. AJ, for putting this up every week and encouraging people to subscribe or at least consume my material. And this is where I can be found. Patreon.com/thetruthcodes. And one tier, just a single tier. It's $5 a month and access to the Codebreaker community server. And I'm also on Instagram.com/thetruthcodes.
Yep. As I always say, you guys, $5 a month, not a day, not a week. You guys spend more than $5 a day, I'm sure, on something that is probably less valuable than what Rambo brings to the table. I can assure you that. He also has his Discord, which is very fruitful as well. He's built a great community over there. So I just wanted to attest to that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's dive right into it, you guys. This is the last episode before the big game on Sunday, February 8th, the big 2-8 date, right? And I just want to shout both of you guys out for the work that you guys have done lately, kind of tying back to, man, what was it? That car crash, that red sports car crash that happened. And we did a lot of work tying that back into the movie The Skulls. And as such, you know, we've been kind of raising an eyebrow to some more of that symbolism, especially when we think about Paul Walker's death in a red sports car, and Joshua Jackson co-starring in that movie with Paul Walker. And then we had Jake Paul facing off against Anthony Joshua in that fight, advertised by 28 days later, right? Kind of like how February 8th is the date written 2/8. And but then also, Cody, something blowing my mind is, you know, what showed up on one of your streams just this past week about the movie Submarine Seahawk, that just so happens to have a glaring skull on the front of the movie cover. I just kind of wanted to kick it off there because really what I have to kick off tonight's show is just a couple of other talking points, some other observations, things to chew on for anybody interested in what could transpire on Sunday. But, you know, let's not forget about the sub themes just in this movie alone, right? Part of their ritual of becoming a Skull and Bones member is they put their what was it again called? What was it called again, Rambo? They're like life partners or something. Like they're Skull and Bones members, but they pair up each member with somebody as like a life partner or something. I don't remember exactly.
I forgot the term that they use, but
yeah. So besides the point, I mean, you know, Joshua Jackson's character, Luke McEnena, is partnered up with McNamara. Yeah, is you know, paired up with Caleb Mandrake, right? Paul Walker, who died in a red sports car crash. And in this scene, McNamara talks about a couple of things. You and I talked about this last week, Rambo. was, you know, when they put him in the cage, they ask both of them, what's your greatest fear? And McNamara says, I'm afraid of dying alone. And that ties a lot back into Donnie Darko, who says the same thing during one of his therapy sessions. And we've talked a lot about how that's what a penguin does to go off to die, right? And that's what a lot of, you know, other dogs and pets, etc., do as well. But really just the point I'm trying to make here in this slide is just the submarine kind of connection, the underground, the underwater themes. But check this out, you guys. Somebody sent this to me. I didn't catch it myself. So shout out to whoever DM'd this to me on Instagram. But you got the NFL, the week of the Super Bowl, now posting pictures of the players coming off the plane in San Francisco, going to Santa Clara for the Super Bowl. And of course, boom, right there, you got that 322. I don't know if that's part of the plane or if that's like something they put on the plane once it lands. I don't know. But the point is the number is clearly right there for you all to see. I find that very fitting just with Rambo's work, pointing out that Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua fight, how it was also advertised by this movie 28 years later, kind of like how the Super Bowl is being played on February 8th, the date written 2/8. Here's a screenshot from Rambo's video showing that. It was on essentially one of the ropes of the ring, but you guys can also see in some of the movie covers here, a lot of skull symbolism with that. Rambo's also done phenomenal work. You guys need to go back and watch it because he really talks a lot about the skull symbolism with this particular fight. And let's not forget that Anthony Joshua was in his own car crash very shortly after defeating Jake Paul in this fight. And Jake Paul gets his jaw broken, and a lot of emphasis on the skull symbolism there. But look at this, you guys. The skulls equals 28 as well. Interesting. I don't think that's a coincidence with what we've been talking about. And not only that, what I found even more interesting is we know about Drake May, right? He's the head quarterback of the New England Patriots, Caleb Mandrake. But on the other side of the ball, you have one of the top running backs for the Seattle Seahawks with the last name Walker. So in a way, we have Kenneth Walker versus Drake May. And not only that, take a look at the numbers they wear. Number 10 versus number 9, huh? Kind of like how Yale Skull and Bones was founded on 10/9, October 9th, right? That's actually the same day, too, that Sister Jean of Loyola Chicago, just kind of a sidebar. Sister Jean of Loyola Chicago just died on 10/9 last year, and she died at what? Age 106. And we're about to conclude the 106 Super Bowl. Besides the point, what I really want to focus on here is, like I mentioned, Walker versus Drake. Caleb Mandrake, played by Paul Walker. These two players are playing opposite each other in the Super Bowl on the date written 2/8, the Skulls, 28, right? And to kind of land the plane here, look at this, you guys. So I came across some 149 connections for those that are familiar with the Skull and Bones numbers. Skull and Bones equals 149. And all I did was measure from this upcoming Super Bowl date on Sunday, February 8th, back to Paul Walker's birthday, September 12th, 149 days, just like Skull and Bones, just like Mandrake, who is essentially a legacy, right? His father was a member of Skull and Bones in this movie. And sure enough, Mandrake and Skull and Bones both equal 149, and the Super Bowl just so happens to be 149 days after his birthday. Not only that, when we flip the measurement and we go forward to George W., W is for Walker, George Walker Bush. He is a Skull and Bones member. He faced off against John Kerry, who was also a Skull and Bones member back in 2000 in the election. But look at that, another 149 right there, Skull and Bones. And lastly, I just want to shout out to you, Rambo, just talking about the theory that for me, honestly, it's going to be really hard to kind of accept that like Drake's not going to show up on stage during the halftime show. I would be shocked, honest, at this point, with everything you've talked about, with Bad Bunny being the headliner of the Super Bowl halftime show, right? He's from Puerto Rico. I think he's from Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, he's Puerto Rican, yes. He sings all his songs in Spanish. He only performs in Spanish.
Right, yeah. So, but what you've what always stuck with me is you pointing out that the song Mia is his most famous song. And it features Drake, right? And of course, and I'm sure this isn't the only video that you got the Puerto Rican flag in the background, but right, once again, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, so just that alone, you got the color connections. But once again, Drake May playing for the red, white, and blue team. It would not shock me to see Drake show up as his kind of rebuttal, so to speak, with what happened last year's Super Bowl halftime show with Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, right? And speaking of which, let's just not forget about the love themes, right? Those continue as well. And lastly, I wasn't able to finish up this slide, but I just want to remind everybody that Walter Camp, known as the father of American football, is also a member of Skull and Bones, right? So for me, this is just a perfect Skull and Bones ritual going on. Not too surprising, but hopefully that tied up some loose ends for anybody who is looking at other narratives, which there clearly are. But that's what I wanted to kick things off with tonight.
Yeah, I add a few things. That was a great decode. Thanks for the shout outs. So, number one, Mia is not the only collaboration with Drake that Bad Bunny has. So he does have other collaborations with Drake. And Mia is not necessarily his biggest hit. It was the hit that launched him into the A-list level. And he needed somebody who was already a megastar. He was not as well known. So they used Drake to launch Bad Bunny because of Drake's star power. So his collaboration with Drake was meant to propel Bad Bunny to this elite status in the music industry. So Mia was that was the hit that launched him to the world, which gave him the name recognition.
Gotcha. You know, that makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless, right? Mia is one of his most popular songs, right? It might not be his first hit, but to your point, it was what catapulted him to another level, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And he has collaborated with Drake on other songs. So I can add to the 149s you brought in.
Yeah.
I also have a little excerpt from so if you've seen my Instagram, and also I brought it up last week where I talked about, and this is thanks to Ricky. I mean, I would not have known about any of this. I would not have known that Bill Gates stood outside the Levi's flagship store in Times Square, New York City, eating a hot dog, had it not been for Ricky. So a huge shout out to Ricky. And there was a lot of symbolism, and we just communicated. It wasn't a decode or anything. We just communicated on Instagram. And she had requested to me, just between us, we weren't planning any big video, if I could see any more symbolism in that episode of Bill Gates, because it looked, I mean, Bill Gates doesn't just walk through Times Square and decide to go to a hot dog stand and eat a hot dog, obviously. I mean, of course, to most people, they say, yes, we're just conspiracy theorists, but I mean, come on. So Ricky asked me if I could look into it so she could see, just, you know, in hopes that I could see some other symbolism. And boy, it just expanded and expanded and expanded. There's so much more to it. And that was before the conference finals, which is essentially the semifinals to make it to the Super Bowl. And what Ricky said was that it looked like a Seattle code to her because Seattle were playing the LA Rams before they hadn't played yet. She felt that this was a code for Seattle because Bill Gates is from Seattle and he's outside the Levi's store, and Levi's sponsors the stadium that will host the Super Bowl. So she felt, oh, is this a Seattle clue? And you wanted me to look at it like, if it's a Seattle clue, where's there a clue for New England or Denver who were playing in the AFC final? Is there, you know, there wasn't an evident New England or Denver clue. That was actually more occulted, which I did extract, and that came from the hot dog, the condiments on the hot dog. It's ketchup and mustard, which is monopolized, that industry, by Heinz, which is merged with Kraft. It's now called Kraft Heinz, that monopolizes literally the condiment industry, ketchup and mustard. Heinz owns the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'll say why that's relevant. And Kraft owns the Denver Broncos. Well, I'll go into a little bit of that because it's a little more dots to connect as to how you get to the New England Patriots from Bill Gates eating a hot dog in Times Square. It's a few more dots to connect, but before
they're amazing. All I'm going to say is, you guys, seriously, please make sure to go to Rambo's Instagram, Instagram.com/The Truth Code, spelled out exactly as it is. He has a video already shouting Ricky out with that original video, and Rambo has done a lot more work that he's already released on his Patreon, going into greater detail.
Yeah. So first, I want to add to your 149. You talked about 149 being the number of days between the Super Bowl and Skull and Bones and George Bush Jr.'s birthday. It's 149, and Skull and Bones 149. Well, in this video here, which is 32 minutes, it's up on my Patreon, and I appreciate those who've seen it already. I've gotten a positive response. I appreciate that, and amazing comments, mind-blowing connections. I did come up with the 149, and this was the 149. So Kavan Markwood, okay, this is not a household name. Last year, a fan fell from the right field stands in PNC Park, which is the home of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Think of that, Pirates, skull and bones, a pirate symbol. This was the name of the fan who fell 21 feet onto the warning track in right field during a Pittsburgh Pirates game. That was his name.
I remember this. That this was on the anniversary of the Church of Satan's birthday, right?
Absolutely. And what it was a fallen angels ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see my video, I'll give the details which confirm that it was a fallen angels ritual. And I can go into some of that here because I still have some there's so much more to this. And so since you brought up 149, I quickly put this on before the show just to show that there is more 149. Calvin Markwood, Pittsburgh Pirates. The pirate is skull and bones symbol. That was a fallen angels ritual when he fell. And this is the 149 that was in my video. So 3/8 is the birthday of the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer or not. Hines Ward. The key is the name Hines. The Pittsburgh Steelers are owned by the owner of Hines. In fact, their home stadium was, I don't know if it has a new sponsor now, but it's Heinz Field, which goes to the whole condiment. Heinz is merged with Kraft. It's now called Kraft Heinz. Well, they own the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they were in Super Bowl XL, which is the reflection of LX, the next Super Bowl. This all came from that video that Ricky talked about of Bill Gates. So I focus on Heinz. Heinz Ward is very important. Heinz Ward also made an appearance in The Dark Knight Rises. And shout out to Patreon, one of my patrons, Red, another great patron with great contributions. Red has pointed out the connection to The Dark Knight Rises, which was released in 2012, which was 6 years after Super Bowl XL, which was between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks. So there's a Seattle connection here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Seattle Seahawks connection was made in The Dark Knight Rises, where a stadium is destroyed and this is terror attack by the arch villain Bane. They use Heinz Field. And they use Pittsburgh Steelers players and their head coach, Bill Cowher, their quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger. They're all there in the movie, but it's a fictional team. It's the team from Gotham, even though they're in Pittsburgh Steelers colors. So it's their opponent has Seattle Seahawks colors. This is all very conscious. It's blue with green trimmings, white with blue and green trimmings, which are Seattle Seahawks colors. So essentially the teams, even though they're given fictional names, are the Seattle Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Heinz Ward is the star of the show because they end up all dying in the attack, all the players on the field. But Heinz Ward is the only one who survived. And they use his real name because they show the back of his jersey. It says Ward. But Heinz is the key. And so that's why I use Hines Ward's birthday in that video, 3-8. But that's a reflection of 8-3, which is Tom Brady's birthday, the New England Patriots all-time great. At Super Bowl XL, where the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Seattle Seahawks, they had a special commemoration of past Super Bowl MVPs. For some reason, they chose to do that at Super Bowl XL. So all past Super Bowl MVPs, so that's Super Bowl 49, from Super Bowl 48, onwards to Super Bowl 1, all the surviving, the Super Bowl MVPs who were still alive, showed up at the stadium to do a special commemoration. So some of them were active players, one of whom was Tom Brady, because he was a past MVP, and he did the coin toss. So he was very key to that. So, and because like XL, LX are reflections, Hines Ward's birthday and Tom Brady's birthday are reflections of each other. In fact, you can say outside of the United States, Hines Ward's 3-8 birthday is 8-3, 8th March, and Tom Brady is 8-3-3-8. Well, they're 149 days apart. So that's actually why I brought up 149. And since you brought it up, it all synchronizes. But I'll just show my excerpt from this video. It's a 30-minute video, but here's an excerpt and a little background, which I've already touched upon a little bit.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Rambo. Always giving us a little treat.
Yeah. No, thank you. So this is part of the video of Bill Gates at Times Square. You see him at a hot dog stand. So on the other side of the street is the Levi's. I'll show the Levi's store here's in front of us. See, that's the Levi's store. Levi's will host. That's the name of the host. And this is the XL in the background. That's what I talk about, Super Bowl XL. That's what that was the symbol there. What they're referring to, Super Bowl XL, was the Steelers, Pittsburgh Steelers, Seattle Seahawks. So there's definite Seattle indication. And Super Bowl XL, look at who the referee
The
was.
very first game in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Sorry, the referee at Super Bowl XL was named Levy, like Levi Stadium. So this is back in XL. So XL, this is relevant because it's the reflection of LX. And Levy was the name of the referee. And there's Hines Ward, who was the MVP. Hines Ward is very connected to all of this.
The very first game in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers took place on September 20th. 5 months after Kavon Markwood fell from the stands at PNC Park in Pittsburgh, he returned to throw out the ceremonial first pitch at a Pittsburgh Pirates home game on September 20th, 2025. This had to have been a very conscious decision. The anniversary of the first ever football game for the Pittsburgh Pirates, now named the Pittsburgh Steelers. September 20th, 2025, when Kavon Markwood threw out the ceremonial first pitch at the Pirates home game, was the 92nd anniversary of the first ever Pittsburgh Steelers game, then named the Pittsburgh Pirates. 92 years, 0 days. 920, like the date September 20th. In the Francis Bacon Elizabethan reduction or Pythagorean cipher, the letters that make up Pittsburgh Pirates sum to 92. Batman is connected to the Pittsburgh Steelers through The Dark Knight Rises that was filmed in Pittsburgh at the home stadium of the Pittsburgh Steelers and involved actual Pittsburgh Steelers players. Donald Trump was in the Pittsburgh metropolitan area in Butler County, where there was an alleged assassination attempt on him by Thomas Matthew Crooks. Thomas Matthew Crooks was born on September 20th in the Pittsburgh metropolitan area.
Yeah, so that 9/20 date is very significant. So Kevon Markwood had fell from the stands at the Pittsburgh Pirates game. 5 months later, he seemed almost perfect health. He actually threw out the first pitch at a Pittsburgh Pirates game at PNC Park. September 20th, when he threw out the first pitch, was the 92nd anniversary of the very first game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were then named the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Steelers were originally the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pittsburgh had two Pittsburgh Pirates. They had the Pittsburgh Pirates football team, which is now the Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball team. They both played in the same stadium, which is Forbes Field at the time. Forbes Field was used for the original movie Angels in the Outfield, which confirms Kevon Markwood was a fallen Angels ritual. So that's the significance of that. But I ended up with Butler, Pennsylvania, which is where the 9/20 birthday of crooks who attempted the assassination of Donald Trump. You know, the Batman has the Butler Pennyworth. The last time that the the Patriots and the Seahawks played in a Super Bowl, the game was decided by an interception by Butler. And thanks to BPM, another great Patriot with great contributions. I missed that one. Butler he's the one who clinched the game for the Patriots when he intercepted the ball at the end of the game. And the pass was intended for number 83. Remember I talked about the birthdays between Hines Ward and Tom Brady? August 3rd or 8th March. It ties in again. There's
football 83, Bad Bunny 83, etc. Yep.
Yeah. It was Butler who made the interception. Malcolm Butler. And also look at where he went to college. His college is called Hines. Hines College is where he went to. It's amazing. And there's also the Maroon. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
Hines Ward, Hines Field, 109 years old. So this is taken. I just took this screenshot today. So Hines, you were just talking about the 109 and how Yale University was established on October 9th. Yeah. Well, Hines Community College, where Butler, who decided the Super Bowl, went to, it's 109 years old right now. Hines Ward, Hines Field, the Hines merged with Kraft, the Pittsburgh Steelers owner, New England Patriots owner. So yeah, it's Kraft Heinz. This is what the company's known as now.
Is that the Twin Tower? Is that the Heinz building? That looks like the Twin Tower, one of the Twin Towers.
No, that has Trident. This is what the company is now. Kraft Heinz. Kraft is New England Patriots owner. Heinz is the Pittsburgh Steelers owner, which is why that video of Bill Gates eating the hot dog outside Levi's flagship store was an indication of the New England. Remember, I actually talked to you over the phone. Remember, we talked about it where I said, no, this, from what I've talked about with Ricky, it kind of seems to be pointing towards Seattle, New England.
Yeah.
Yep. I talked to you about that just before. I didn't do a deco. We just talked about it. I said, no, this is actually what this looks like because of the condiments, Heinz Kraft, they dominate ketchup and mustard. There's actually
and Rambo, really quick, let's not forget that that this goes all the way back to when you first started talking about that Subway sandwich throwing story, right? Which then stemmed into us talking a little bit more about the Sandlot, right? And those scenes when Ham Porter is making a hot dog on Independence Day and all that kind of stuff. So it's like we had been talking about the hot dog briefly many moons ago, so to speak, and here it is coming full circle. That's crazy.
Hot dogs are also a symbol. We remember when Pizzagate came out, and some people said that pizza was a euphemism for the victims of trafficking.
Yep.
And of course, they do a left-right divide. That's when it's unnatural. It's not a left-right thing. If this is a code, it's a code, and whoever's involved in this is involved. It's nothing to do with left-right. So they left-righted it. Democrats say, "Oh, that's nonsense," and it was a right-wing conspiracy theory. The FBI themselves confirmed that. And what's come out now in the most recent Epstein files dump. Sure enough, I think it's from Epstein himself or someone else communicating with Epstein. They use the term pizza. It's confirmed. It's not a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's a fact. Pizza is a euphemism for the victims of, what we're talking about. But hot dogs, and I'm not sure exactly what that means. Hot dogs can also be a euphemism in that field, but I'm not sure exactly where hot dogs, but that has been used in some communications, but I'm not sure. But pizza definitely is. So one of the darker sides of this hot dog thing, okay, it's condiments, it's predicting the Super Bowl. It's much darker. It can be much darker too. This also one thing I missed real quick. Is it here? Oh yeah, birthdays. There's a hip hop producer. He produces for several artists, but most noteworthy is Kendrick Lamar, and he was at the Super Bowl halftime show. His name is Mustard, DJ Mustard from LA. He doesn't call himself DJ Mustard anymore. Now he's calling himself Mustard, which is the title of my video. My video is titled Mustard. He's actually a big part of this. He actually won a Grammy because he produced Kendrick Lamar's biggest hit, Not Like Us. And so Mustard, which another thing too. So he's under contract with
that's why sorry, really quick, that's why Kendrick Lamar says mustard on that beat. Mustard on that beat.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It's a reference to his producer Mustard.
Yeah.
But Mustard has a contract with Kraft Heinz to advertise Heinz mustard. So, and this is birthday June 5th. That's Robert Kraft's birthday, and that's Sam Darnold's birthday.
Wow.
So you can see how he ties in. They have a contract together. That's in my video. You'll see it in my video. I talk about it. So he's a big part of this Mustard. He was on the field with Kendrick Lamar at the halftime show, but he's not as big a name. So most people, unless you're really a diehard hip hop fan, didn't know who's that guy with Kendrick Lamar. But it's Mustard. That's his name, and he does a Heinz. Now he's actually selling. It's a very successful advertising campaign. It's actually been very successful. We actually have created a brand new flavors of Heinz. Heinz had not upgraded any of its mustard flavors in a very long time until Mustard came along, and he endorsed that, and it was very successful, using Kendrick Lamar's fame as well. But that's his birthday, June 5th. It's Robert Kraft's birthday. They're in contract together. And it's Sam Darnold's birthday, June 5th. So, yeah, I have more, but I've said a lot. I want to give KODI a chance to add things and share what he has.
Yeah, definitely, KODI. Hopefully you didn't fall asleep. I mean, that was mind-blowing stuff, Rambo. Seriously, that's unbelievable. I didn't mean that as a dig. I know it's very early in the witching hours, witchcraft. For you, KODI. So where are you at, brother?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. You're...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of, I guess, things. Let me just bring up I was just talking. Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. Since Rambo just left off with the June 5th thing, I got so much I can add, but I'll just add to that since we just talked about it.
Yeah, no problem. I got you.
I got so many slides. I've decided to keep all my slides on one thing for the Super Bowl, and now it's over 102 slides. So I'm sorry if it takes me a minute to find it here. But yeah, so in my last video, this was the topic of my whole video, this date, because it's way bigger than just Darnold and Kraft. Of course, that's a big part of the riddle, with them having the same birthday. But Kraft is born also on the same day as the Patriot Games movie came out, June 5th, 1992. Which that's also interesting because 1992 was also the year that Home Alone 2 came out. And I just talked about that as well. So you'll notice that it was Robert Kraft, born on June 5th in the year of Pearl Harbor, by the way. And then 51 years later, they released that movie called Patriot Games. And then 5 years later, they released, or sorry, Sam Darnold was born. And then 15 years later, on that exact date, Charlie Kirk started his company. So the movie Patriot Games is also about assassination. So we have this June 5th theme. Well, but you also notice that there's a lot of 5 1s and 1 5s here. Of course, Batman does equal 51 and 15. But also, so does, let me just type in a few things that equals 51 and 15. The word Mars, like war, 51 and 15. But also Drake Lee May. And in my last stream, we caught on to a riddle for this.
Hey, Cody, sorry, really quick. I just want to throw in there the 51 because I was seeing something about the 51 and I couldn't make this connection. But if you measure from the anniversary of when the movie The Skulls was released, March 31st, back to the Super Bowl on Sunday, 51 days. So I just want to throw that in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this number, Adam the Illusion also just did a video on this. So I'd recommend also checking. So the Patriots won Super Bowl 51 against the Falcons, another bird team. Drake Lee May equals 51. Well, Drake Lee May is a reference to May, which is this is the reference to May 1st. I believe there's a big, interesting riddle here for this year for there being something to go down on that day, on May Day. Of course, the Illuminati was founded on that day, but it's bigger than that because so was Levi's company. They were founded on May 1st. And again, Patriots won Super Bowl 51. And again, just to go back to the other riddles that we're talking about, how this ties in, we were just talking, Rainbow was just talking about Batman. And of course, the main gematria, just the basic ordinal gematria of Batman is 51. And 15. And just look at, again, back to my thing here. I noticed this 51 when I was doing this. This is where it came to my attention because I was like, well, there's got to be something here with all these 5s and 1s because all these people have that 51, 5, 15 between their birthdays. I mean, in Charlie Kirk being tied into this, I did a whole video on that was what this video was about. It was about Charlie Kirk. Now, who else was taken out on June 5th? RFK. And his son is now helping Trump to produce the Patriot Games for next year, which is, again, the name of the movie. Trump actually announced the Patriot Games. It was in the news 51 days before the Super Bowl. Just like Robert Kraft was born 51 years before the movie Patriot Games came out. And what's crazy is if you go from the Patriot Games to the Super Bowl, it's 12,301 days, which breaks down to, in the prime numbers, breaks down to 1471, which breaks down to 233, which breaks down to 51. And again, Robert Kraft born on that day, Robert Kraft was 51 years old. And then if you do the days between, it breaks down to 51. That's, people might say this is like reaching, but it's pretty clear that I don't think that's a reach. I mean, considering his quarterback that's going to be playing for him in that Super Bowl is a gematria of 51.
Wow.
So on top of that, in here I just mentioned the Charlie Kirk connection. It's also interesting to point out the Patriot Games was released exactly 60 months before Sam Darnold was born. Like Charlie Kirk equals 60, like this is Super Bowl 60. Charlie Kirk was being called a Patriot. Charlie Kirk equals New England Patriots. And again, going quickly to touch on this, 10-14, that's Charlie Kirk's birthday. That's the two quarterbacks' numbers. Pat the Patriot equals 10-14. So if you guys want to see all the Charlie Kirk stuff, I'll just let you guys go back and watch my video. But So, what was I going to say now? Because there was something else I wanted to touch on. So, in going, how this connects to, so Batman, Skull and Bones, George W. Bush, Skull and Bones, the Skull and Bones, right? All this is connecting back to one common theme, Skull and Bones. So, if you just use basic ampersand for Skull and Bones, which is another way to spell it, this big number that continually comes up for this Super Bowl is the number 130, and you'll see that the Super Bowl itself, the gematria of it, Super Bowl LX is 130, and patriotism equals 130. Again, patriotism actually equals Super Bowl LX in 2 ciphers.
Yeah, Cody. Hey, can I say one thing about that 130 really quick?
Yeah.
I did a kind of a 2-part little mini live stream. I know you were able to at least chime into at least one of them, but yeah, 130 is the date of the death of Catherine O'Hara, and I talked a lot about her role of Moira Rose and all of the rose symbolism and the Rosicrucians, right? Christian Rosencruz died at the age of 106, right? And Rose Cross equals Super Bowl in 3 of the 4 base ciphers. But I also had a very small little blip about Skull and Bones because Eugene Levy, who plays Catherine O'Hara's husband in that show, has the same birthday as Pope Francis. And when you measure from her death to their upcoming birthdays, when you include the end date, it's 322 days. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny because I was gonna, all this is tied together. So I was gonna talk about if I can get around to it and I can connect the pieces properly. I was gonna get into that part with the O'Hara, Catherine O'Hara, because now that it does, how you just tied it in, and also with how that just happened before the Super Bowl, right? So she was the mother. Okay, so I guess I'll go back to, because I want to get to the 9/11. So how the divine feminine. So this is all about Mary. This is all about Mary. That's why Mary Steenburgen's birthday is the Super Bowl. It's also why Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor declared the Mountbatten Windsor name on February 8th in history. So let me just quickly go to my new tool, again, created by Kate over at help Derek create this new tool. So in this new tool, what's giving me, which again, this is, in my opinion, this is so much worth the tool because of the fact that you can catalog all your dates. And as you're going through, you miss so many connections when you don't remember what's happening on certain dates. And because I have this now, I'm never going to miss anything anymore as far as other events that are connected. So just take a look at February 8th here. So this is my catalog of dates so far. February 8th, 2026. And let's just look here, and I'll just go through all these events, which all tie to this, okay? Mary, Queen of Scots, was killed on February 8th. Okay, so this is the first event that connects everything, because it's all about King James. It all goes really back to King James, because that's the, you could go farther back, of course, but as far as all this stuff, and I've talked about King James so much, but Mary, Queen of Scots, his mother.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's why LeBron James is on the doorstep of reaching 1611 total games ever played to pass Robert Parrish, right?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because guess how many total games, playoffs and regular season, LeBron James is on right now, or unless he played tonight. He's currently on 1885 games, and that's the year that Back to the Future goes back to, in Back to the Future 3. Now, it's right before the Super Bowl, he's on 1885. And that's going to connect to what I'm going to get to here. But, okay, so Mary, Queen of Scots, born 439 years before the Super Bowl. That's the 85th prime number. Matrix equals 85, because a matrix is a womb. So think about it. Matrix, a womb. She's Mary, Queen of Scots, the mother of King James, killed exactly 439 years before this. National Football League, 85. Huge number with the NFL.
Basketball's 85 too.
Right. Well, then you had the Eliphas Levi thing, right? So it's his 216th birthday. That's the next thing I have here. Now, Jules Verne, think about the sea. He wrote that all about the sea. Well, the sea can also refer to a birthing, 20,000 leagues under the sea. You know, a birthing. Everyone's talking about how the Seahawks represents the beast out of the sea. Well, Jules Verne is connected, but look at the next event. This is where it gets crazy. So
sorry guys. Sorry, Cody. Hold on. I don't know what happened here. What? I'm playing around with. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
No problem. No problem. So Jules Verne, right? He did the sea stuff. So here's the birth continuing connection here. The Birth of a Nation, the movie, which is about the KKK, came out on this day as well. Now, that came out exactly 111 years before the Super Bowl. Now, look whose birthday is also 2/8, James Dean. Now, James Dean connects to King James. Again, Mary's Queen of Scots. His mother was killed on that day, on this same day. This is all February 8th. Mary Steenburgen. This is the Back to the Future connection. Again, this is all going back to Mary, Queen of Scots. It's all connected to her. And then the next event, 66 years before the Super Bowl, is Queen Elizabeth, whose name is Mary in her name. She declares that the surname for her family will be Mountbatten Windsor. That was also on this day. The Year of the Horse, this is another connection because Queen Elizabeth, one of her last photos on her last birthday was her with 2 white horses. And the horse theme is one of the most important riddles to this in general. I mean, the horse theme, wait till I come out with my next video, guys. The horse theme is everywhere. And if you notice on the cover of The Birth of a Nation, there's a guy riding a white horse. It's everywhere, this white horse. And that's because white horse also equals 130. So white horse equals 130 and 985. And this is Jesus in Latin. And Trump's just turned 985 lunar phases. And Drake Lee May is born in lunation 985. So white horse is just a little bit off topic right now, but the white horse is tied into all this. Just the horse in general, not just the white horse. But so then we have the next event, which really doesn't tie into this, is there's a wrestler named The Big Show. It's his birthday is so if there's a big event on the Super Bowl, and Big Show is one of the giants of WWE. His birthday is also February 8th, which is really interesting to me. But he's known for being part of the 60-man battle royals in his career. So think about it. Super Bowl 60, Big Show, big event. Super Bowl's a big event, a big show. Interesting that he's a little less connected to all this. But anyway, back to the birth thing. The divine feminine, the birthing rituals. So all the Mary stuff. We know Mary also, I was talking about 51, right? Well, Mary, 51. And so here's where it gets really crazy. So I told you guys in my earlier decode that this was all about Elvis Presley, right? And going back to the 130 real fast, just to connect that. This is my slide from like a week ago. Mojo Nixon, right? So this connects to the Nixon shock. I talked about this in my other video, the Nixon shock. This is why on the Home Alone movies, which also remember she died on 130. All the Home Alone movies, you're seeing her with a shocked face or a scared face. And the front of the cover of the movies is him with the kid with the shocked face. It's about the Nixon shock. But look at, so the guy who wrote Elvis is Everywhere, his name was Mojo Nixon. And he died 733 days before the Super Bowl, which is the 130th prime number. And Washington equals 130, like Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico is where Bad Bunny is from. But this is where it brings it all together. So all the 130s, George W. Bush, 130, part of 9/11. Remember, this is like a really key point that I think everyone's not paying enough attention to, including myself. Washington State will be 7190 weeks old on the Super Bowl, folks. That's the 911th prime number. Now, check this out.
Jeez.
Check this out. Look what equals 9/11. Look what equals 9/11.
February 8th. Holy smokes. Oh,
Okay,
wow.
so we're missing, like, this is like, I was missing this until it, like, because of what Rambo and you were talking about, it pieced this together for me. So that's why I was like, wait, February 8th equals 9/11, divine feminine equals 9/11. This is all about the birth of Mary and Jesus, right? It goes back to that, but Mary and King James, right? Mary Steenburgen. Now, let's connect this Home Alone thing real fast, because she died
Cody,
on 1/30, right?
Yeah.
She's the mother. She's the mother of the kid, right, in the movie.
Yeah.
Also this week, I did a video connecting this to Ripple XRP, the cryptocurrency. She played the mother of Wade Ripple in the Elemental movie. That was one of her last roles before she died. In Elemental, she played also the mother of Wade Ripple. And that movie was clearly connected to those. So there's two cryptocurrencies, right? There's XRP and XLM. These are the brother and sister cryptocurrencies. In the movie Elemental, so get this. In the movie Elemental, and we just had all this ice stuff going on, right? So this connects to that. But water is also about, this is all about birthing. And let me just pull this up. So she was in this movie. She plays the mother of Wade Ripple, which is this guy right here, the water, right? So the fire in this is lumen. Okay. So the two cryptocurrencies that are connected are called Ripple XRP and XLM Stellar Lumens. Now, the Seahawks play in Lumen Field. And again, this mother from Home Alone, she plays the mother in this movie as well. And she plays the mother of the water theme of Ripple, which again is the birth. She birthed the water. And so let me just quickly try not to make this too long. I know it's a lot, but this is so big in my opinion, this 9/11 Washington. And I talked about how Elvis equals water, right? Elvis is the king, right? King James. Mary, the mother of King James, killed on February 8th. So Elvis, his face, a lot of,
Yeah, I was going to say that symbolism is really cool right there, of just the state alone. You got Elvis right in it.
Right. His face, his head, if you do the side view, it lines up with that part of Washington, right? And Elvis equals water in all ciphers and reset.
And not only that, Cody, that with all the 51s, I always think about moon. Moon equals 51, yeah. And we know how the moon controls the tides and how Catherine O'Hara played a lot of mother figures, right, throughout her career. And I just wanted to touch on that mainly. And I had another talking point, but I don't want to stop you. I'm sorry.
No, that's a perfect addition, because it brings in the 51s again, which you're right. It goes back to Mary equaling 51. And like you said, moon, which is the feminine.
Oh, I remember really quick before I forget. Go ahead. Back to the 9/11 connections right here on this slide. 9/11, 2 towers, 2 phalluses, right? They were phalluses come down. Right. And now we have 1 phallus, right? So it's that divine feminine connection that you just made, which equals 9/11 in Latin Jewish, right? Just like February 8th.
Right.
That was my main point, is that 9/11 directly connects to the feminine that you're pointing out. But then also, let's not forget what happened after 9/11. Now it became a phallus. So you have that male, female, sun and moon connection. That's what I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Could I say something about that? The alchemical symbol for male is the upward pointed triangle. The symbol for female is the downward pointed triangle. And those two symbols are in the architecture of the the new World Trade Center. Upside down, inverted triangles, and right side up. I mean, I don't have the visual here since it just came up, but that's where the sun, moon, yin, yang, alchemy, male, female symbol, it's in the Freedom Tower. So the symbolism there was the two towers were binary, male, female. Now you have male and female on that single tower, non-binary. It's binary, not so. The new Freedom Tower, so-called, is non-binary, and it has the male-female alchemical symbol, the upside down, the right side up face triangle, and the downward face triangle. That's alchemy, but it's also non-binary, male-female in one.
I didn't even know sun and moon equals 130. Holy smokes. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And what Rambo's
good point,
saying,
Rambo. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you can get a visual. Just look at the Freedom Tower just to get the visual if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, but
The Freedom Tower, right?
yeah, the so-called, which of course has nothing to do with freedom whatsoever. It's the complete opposite. That's what they do. They invert.
Maybe this one is that a good view?
Yeah, that one's good. The one you're on now. Just
Let's see. Yeah. So, yeah, and yeah. So it's just interesting that. And sorry, Rambo. Did you? I'll let you finish.
No. I'm finished.
Okay. But yeah. So another thing that interests me with all this, going back to the 9/11 code, is that, well, when I saw February 8th equaled 9/11, I was like, wow, this kind of that's crazy. I don't know how many dates on the calendar you can type them out equal 9/11, but I don't think there's many. I'd have to ask Derek. Derek probably knows. He probably has an idea of that. But anyway, Washington State being also, just going back to this real fast, Washington State being 9/11 on this prime weeks old, they're also kind of founded on an esoteric date of 9/11. November 9th or 11th is actually 9/11. So even their founding date calls back to that number 9/11. And then what I was mentioning too with the Seattle Seahawks, beast out of the sea, birth, the double C, right? And then we would talk about the submarines come out of the sea. That movie Seattle Seahawks, Seattle submarine. What's that movie called again?
Submarine Seahawk.
Submarine Seahawk. So you got the SS there. There's a Nazi code there. Both of those. But remember, Sydney Sweeney. Okay, so we can bring that back. Sydney Sweeney, SS. She's from Washington. And she had that jeans thing. Remember, the song I'm even talking about here with Elvis is Elvis is in Your Jeans, the song by Mojo Nixon. He's talking about Elvis being in your jeans. And again, Elvis, the king, this all kind of goes back to that same theme again, the king connection. Washington's from King County, and they're playing the Patriots, which is, again, I told you about what else happened on that date, February 8th, the birth of a nation.
I mean, it goes back to Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates and all of his stuff with the you-know-what.
So, again, check out the cover of this movie. And again, this came out on February 8th. So, again, the birth of a nation. And that's kind of and again, it's kind of all tying into this assassination theme as well. But, and the James Dean thing, on that, and I also find interesting, it was 111 years from a birth of a nation to the Super Bowl, which we know 9/11 is connected to that number as well. And then another big part of this is the horse stuff. There's the horses on the front of that cover. And then 1967, which is interesting because water equals 67, Elvis 67, Satanic 67. That's was a big number this year, this past year.
Levi's 67.
Right, yeah. So the horse year. So this is so big too because the birth of the Super Bowl was in a horse year. In fact, it was in a fire horse year because the first ever Super Bowl, Super Bowl I, was in the same year we're in now. That's why we're coming full circle now, coming around the clock, 60 minutes around, and we're coming back to Super Bowl 60, which is also the length of the Chinese zodiac. It's 60 years, which is why all the 12s are important because every 12 years, the new you get the new horse year, right? And that's why the Seattle is the 12th man, and that's why the Patriots are tied to the number 12, which is Tom Brady. But it connects back to that 60 and 12 thing where you have the horse years separated by 12 years. But every 60 years, you come back around to the fire horse, which is Super Bowl I. So the most important year to the Super Bowl is the fire horse year, which we're going to be entering because it was the first Super Bowl was played in the fire horse. And guess when the 1966, the year of Super Bowl I, horse year ended on the date of the Super Bowl this year. What are the odds? You guys get what I mean? The Super Bowl, the last day of the first fire horse year, which was Super Bowl I, happened during that time. It ended on the Super Bowl date this year, February 8th, exactly 59 years before, which is, you could say, is the beginning of the 60th year. That's why that's the reason they scheduled this Super Bowl on this date this year. It's the biggest reason, I think, because it's all connecting back to Super Bowl I taking place in the fire horse, which again, that year.
Cody, just to add one extra layer to it, I've talked about this several times, even just on our show. Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is born on the date of the Super Bowl, February 8th.
Right.
He left San Francisco to become what? A maverick, a horse.
A horse, yeah.
And now who is he dating? Megan the Stallion. And there's some little murmurs that Megan the Stallion wants to be on the big stage for the Super Bowl as well. So that's just another layer, just adding on to your point about this being a lot about the horse.
Yeah, and let me just pull up my slide here. I'm going to do a whole video on the horse theme this week, or maybe probably this week. But I just wanted to really emphasize this before I end my part here. The horse thing, and Rambo will attest to this. So this is a Neptune thing, and Neptune just moved into Aries. Interestingly enough, Aries is a fire sign, and so that's why you had the fire horse, because Aries or Neptune is the sea god who's a part of earthquakes, by the way, or Poseidon is equivalent. That's why earthquakes are going off right now, right before the Super Bowl. There's that story that just popped up. And so Neptune is a big part of this, the birthing thing out of the sea, right? And so what was I going to say? Neptune. I also have just a quick thing. I'll have a whole video on this as well. But the grandfather of Sam Darnold is Dick Hammer. He's famous for playing the Marlboro Man.
Dick Hammer?
Yeah, just wait till you guys see my decode. I'm not going to reveal all of it here, but wait till you guys see my decode later this week on that as well. Because Dick Hammer is famous for being in two things. He's famous for being the Marlboro Man, and he's famous for being in a series called Emergency. And I've talked about this before, how the word emergency is also a beast out of the sea kind of play on words. Emerge out of the sea. Emergency. That equals 95.
Guess what? A dick and a hammer also comes out of your jeans. Your Levi's jeans. Sorry. I'm the little kid here. This is hilarious. This is amazing, dude. Sorry. I had to throw a joke in there.
No, that's because I was thinking that too, that we were talking about the birthing thing. Well, in order to have a birth, you have to have a dick hammer.
A dick, right? Or a hammer. Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, he's the grandfather of this quarterback who's going to be playing, right, from the C team. But yeah, anyway, back to the horse real fast. Super Bowl 36. So the reason I believe the Patriots and Seahawks are in the Super Bowl this year is really a part of the horse theme again. Patriots won their Super Bowl 10 days before the year the horse started in 2002, which was the year Drake May was born. That's why Drake May is a horse. And his number is 10, right? The Patriots just happened to win versus the Rams. So the 4 teams that were left in this was all tribute to the horse year, because 10 days before the horse year started, the year Drake May was born, the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. And Drake May wears number 10. He was born 200 days after that. The horse year started. So 10 years before, the Patriots win, and then 200 days later, he's born. Here's another interesting connection. On the death anniversary of Princess Diana, another birthing theme, she birthed the current Prince of Wales, who I think is also super important this year, Prince William. But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, so Drake May's born on the death of the crash of Princess Diana. But also, so the other part of this is the other teams that were involved is the Broncos, right? Which is the horse. So the Seahawks won their Super Bowl in the year of the horse against the Broncos 3 days after the horse year started. So the Patriots actually won their Super Bowl in the snake year 10 days before the horse year, while the Seahawks won their Super Bowl 3 days after the horse year started, which was 165 days before Levi Stadium opened. So Levi Stadium opened in the year of the horse. Drake May, born in the year of the horse.
Someone in the comments. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Someone in the comments, I forget who it was, so I apologize, but they mentioned that Megan Thee Stallion also had a music video with a snake. So that just ties right into what you were just pointing out. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Well, I don't know anything about Megan Thee Stallion, but I'm not surprised because the snake and the horse are intimately connected in the Chinese zodiac. This also goes back to the Future, which I have another part of Decoded to do this week on that. I can't even share everything here, but I'm just kind of hinting at all the things I'm going to talk about before the Super Bowl even happens, hopefully. Hopefully I'll get to it all. But
the only other thing was the male connection. Let's not forget, shout out to you, Rambo. A drake is a male duck. Right? Drake, right, the male duck playing for the Patriots, all the 9/11 symbolism and everything we talked about with the phallus and the feminine, divine feminine 9/11 connections with February 8th. So that's all I have.
And just to reiterate and to end it here, first Super Bowl was 24 days before the Fire Horse year ended, which was 59 years exactly before this Super Bowl, which is 9 days before the Fire Horse year starts. So it's kind of like I drew it like this to kind of give how it's a web. It's obviously a web of weaving, because again, I believe the Fire Horse year is so significant. Again, Neptune moving into Aries. Neptune has the horses. This is why Indiana beat Miami in the championship before all this, because Indianapolis, the Colts are always in the Super Bowl in Miami. All their Super Bowls in Miami. The one Super Bowl they were in with Prince, it rained in Miami. Again, a birthing ritual. We're having all this Minnesota stuff. It's all connecting back to that too as well. But yeah, so the Colts always were in the Miami. Every time the Colts have been in the Super Bowl, it's been in Miami. Which is connected to Neptune, who has the dolphins and the horses, right? So now that we're coming up on this year of the horse, the fire represents Neptune moving into Aries. The last time Neptune moved into Aries was the Civil War. Right before that it moved into Aries, then the Civil War started. And now we have this Minnesota thing connecting to Prince and the Colts. Again, Prince was in the Colts and Bears Super Bowl where it rained. now you have this Minnesota thing kind of looking a bit like a civil war, or kind of maybe foreshadowing even more of a civil war. But like, that's just kind of the point of the Neptune moving into the fire sign Aries, right? And then this thing, I'll talk more about this later, but Queen Elizabeth, again, the royal family stuff, her last picture on her last birthday was with the white horses. You had the horses running through London with blood on them. And just to again go back to Sam Darnold, he played for the USC Trojans, and their mascot is a guy riding a white horse. So you're seeing this theme of
It's
white
also
horses.
a condom.
Yeah, that too, right? So that goes back to the birthing ritual as well. Because, the horse represents a bit like an action. I was reading some of the Chinese zodiac themes for the snake to the horse. The snake is kind of like introspection. The snake year, kind of like introspection and kind of observing what you're doing. But then the next year after that is the horse, which is all about action, right? The horse is active, the runner, So there's that kind of theme there. But anyways, I could go on for sure, but I think I've touched on all the main points. And just stay tuned for this week. I'll have a decode, hopefully tying all this back together with the Back to the Future code, which ties into this well with Mary Steenburgen, and then the Dick Hammer stuff. So yeah, I'll have all that later, but I just want to let you guys get in now for the remainder.
Yeah, so one thing I would touch upon is the sacred feminine symbol, divine feminine. The Super Bowl is held every year at the time of what in the Celtic Gaelic tradition and other civilizations, Middle Eastern area, they had the mid-season as the time for high holy rituals at the middle of a season, because the middle of a season is when the energy of that season is at its strongest, which is why the middle of a season is why they had traditionally the biggest rituals, the holiest days. This is midwinter. And the energy of winter is strongest now, as opposed to the beginning of winter when you're morphing from fall, or the end of winter where you're kind of mutating into the spring. It's the middle of the season when you have the big high holy days. So for winter, that celebration was called Imbolc. In spring, the middle of spring, the middle of the season, it's Samhain. The middle of summer is Lammas Day. The middle of the fall, well, that's actually where you get Halloween from. The middle of the fall, the high holy day for the fall. It's morphed into Halloween now, but mid-season is when the energy of the season is at its strongest, not at the beginning, not at the end, the middle. The Super Bowl is placed. It's a literal high holy day. It's literally a high holy day. It's an energy harnessing day. People who don't care for football almost have to watch it. It's kind of like an American tradition, even if you're not into it. Like, yeah, there are plenty of Americans who don't watch it, but many do because you kind of have to. It's a little American high holy day. Now, this does not speak to the original Imbolc. They weren't thinking of things like the Super Bowl, but they're using the energy of mid-season. That's what they're using, and it's Imbolc. But this is why it focuses on the sacred feminine, because the Celtic deity who was venerated midwinter at Imbolc was Saint Brigid. February 2nd is Saint Brigid's Day. Saint Brigid, I mean, it's hard to, you can't 100% say that, one tradition is more, lines up with another tradition. But so she's basically Venus, the equivalent of Venus. It's the sacred feminine of the Celtic and Gaelic tradition. The Super Bowl and also the Pro Bowl, because the Pro Bowl is the all-star game of, it's the end of the season. If you're not in the if you're not in the Super Bowl, well, if you're one of the standout players at the end of the season, you're in the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl trophy is a Vesica Pisces, which is, or it's also called a mandorla. It's a symbol of the female generative organ, and it's the shape of a football. Yeah, you can look up Pro Bowl trophy.
Cody, you have the floor, just so you know. Well, I mean, I just gave you the screen.
Who, me?
No, Cody.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. But yeah, so yeah,
no, you're good. I just wanted to. I saw you were doing some research based off of what Rambo's talking about, so I just wanted to.
Yeah,
have a
so
for the viewers.
Rambo, you want me to pull up something else? I have the bridge. This is the right person.
Yeah, Saint Bridget of Ireland. And look up when the day of honoring Saint Bridget, Saint Bridget's Day.
Yeah.
Doesn't brawn mean bridge? I think you guys taught me that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Brawn
so
means bridge.
Because somebody, I think you highlighted the chat that said Bridget.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's Bridget. You can see Bridget and Bridget are essentially the same name.
Right.
But you can see here, which I'm glad you put Cody up. It's Bridget. It's the same name. February 1st. So this is around the time you always have the Super Bowl. It is. So Cody, could you show the Pro Bowl trophy? Just put Pro Bowl trophy. That is the sacred feminine symbol. That is a symbol of the female generative organ, which is why the Pro Bowl is held around the time of St. Bridget's Day, which is Imbolc. Mm-hmm. It is commemorating the sacred feminine. Why do the New England Patriots, recently, it hasn't always been that way, but recently the New England Patriots have been the most dominant team in football. And usually when dynasties end, it takes a while for the team to be competitive again. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. They were a dynasty. It's been forever since the Dallas Cowboys. The New England Patriots have bounced right back. I don't know, has a dynasty ever recovered that quickly? But
it's a rebirth.
Yeah, it's a rebirth. But part of the reason you're seeing the New England Patriots specifically is because they tie directly to St. Bridget. Well, for one thing, there is a Massachusetts, I believe, has the highest population. It's the highest population of Irish descendants. I'll put it that way. Now, most of them are Catholic, obviously. Most do not honor the original spirituality of Ireland and Wales and what it's now Britain. But nonetheless, they still symbolize that. And the Salem witch trials are one of the most, and other witch trials. There were witch trials in Britain. There were witch trials in England, brutal witch trials in Scotland. There were no witch trials in Ireland. The reason is that in Ireland, they were more in touch with their original spirituality than they were in Scotland and England, who became Catholic and Protestant. Whereas in Ireland, while Catholicism was introduced, they still were more in touch with their original spirituality than, and Wales was the same way, than England and Scotland were. And so there were no witch trials in Ireland because a lot of the witch trials were based on persecuting the original spirituality of that part of the world, which celebrated Imbolc, which celebrated the sacred feminine Saint Bridget. If you celebrated Saint Bridget, once Catholicism and later Anglicanism took over, you were considered evil and of the devil, and women were persecuted. Well, that was a destruction of the sacred feminine. Now, the witch trials in Salem is a suburb of Boston, and that's what the New England Patriots represent. The very first victim of the Salem witch trials in Boston was Bridget Bishop. If you could bring that up, Cody. Bridget Bishop.
And Rambo, it just makes me think of the sand witch story that kind of kicked off last year. The witch.
Yeah, yeah. Sandwich is actually an island in part of Britain. So Bridget Bishop was the first victim of the Salem witch trials. Why was Bridget Bishop the first victim? It's because of her name. Because her name is Bridget. What were they persecuting at the Salem witch trials? They were persecuting the sacred feminine of the Celtic spiritual system, Saint Bridget. It was destruction of the sacred feminine, specifically. And I'm glad you brought up the 130 there. So, could you go to the date calculator and look at the time from Saint Bridget's Day, which is February 1st, to Bridget Bishop's birthday? Just see what Bridget Bishop. No, it's her birthday or the day she was hanged. Oh, she died June 10th. Okay, from St. Bridget's Day to the day that Bridget Bishop was hanged.
Okay, of the same year, right?
Yeah, the same year in 1692.
June 10th is. She also was 60 years old. Going with. Let's see.
February 1st.
Whoops, hold on. Oh, okay.
130 days. But 130 is the gematria of upside down, which is a reference to the hanged man, and she was hanged. And this is the ultimate, well, not the ultimate, there have been multiple events of destruction of the sacred feminine. But this is what the New England Patriots represent. Indirectly, they represent many things. The New England Patriots represent the persecution of the sacred feminine, specifically the Celtic sacred feminine, who is Bridget, and she was venerated at the very time that they hold the Super Bowl. And we know that they're honoring the sacred feminine in bulk, the High Holy Day, because of the Pro Bowl trophy. It's a sacred feminine symbol. And that's why you keep seeing the New England Patriots. And I don't know why they're doing it now. I mean, it all started after 9/11. So 9/11 has something to do with this. Destruction of the sacred feminine went into high gear after 9/11. And you saw divine feminine is 9/11.
Well, that's probably because the team they're playing is the C, like out of like a birth thing, and then that it just so happens that Seattle or Washington State will be that 9/11 weeks old, prime weeks old on that day. I think that's another big reason why we're having this matchup, and the Patriots almost like coming back, you know, after what happened in 9/11, 2001, right? Yeah, and then somebody mentioned the chat, Alex Preddy equals 130, the guy who just got, you know, the guy was just in the news. So
yeah, and Alex Preddy represents the sacred feminine because the sacred feminine is a metaphor. Sacred masculine is action. It's will. It's willpower. It's courage. That's sacred masculine. It's a metaphor. Women can express that too. Sacred feminine is love. It's compassion. It's care. It's so Skull and Bones is the destruction of care. Skull and Bones is an incomplete trinity. It's male, male, female. You see how and Skulls is one of them. How many movies do you see on the poster? Male, male, female. It's always, that's the consciousness trinity. Thought, action, emotion. Emotion is the heart. It's supposed to be Skull, Bones, heart. When you see Skull and Bones, you're looking at an incomplete trinity. The absence of a heart. This is in Freemasonry. On the tracing board of the Master Mason is the coffin of Hiram Abiff, because the Skull and Bones is on the coffin of Hiram Abiff, because Hiram Abiff is killed by other fellow craft masons who are second-degree masons, who are incomplete, who are not, you know, they're not at the highest level of consciousness, and they kill Hiram Abiff before he can complete the construction of Solomon's temple, and he dies as a result of these people being just, well, what they do is they want a shortcut to higher consciousness. That's what the killers, they call the three ruffians who kill Hiram Abiff in the metaphor, is they want a shortcut. They don't want to wait And the wait could be several lifetimes. You cannot do it in one lifetime. But no, I want it now. They take a shortcut, and they want to force Hiram Abiff to give them the secret of the secret name of God, which is the secret word of the Master Mason. Instead of becoming Master Masons and learning it, they're impatient. They kill Hiram Abiff, but they're incomplete. They don't have the heart, which is why the skull and bones is on the coffin of Hiram Abiff on the tracing board of the Master Mason. Now, some dark Masons, they think it's great. They celebrate the skull and bones because they think destruction of the female is great, which is what you're seeing now. You're seeing destruction. So the people who are doing these destruction of the sacred, the people who did the Salem witch trials, for example, they love the skull and bones imagery. In fact, that's just next door to where Skull and Bones is, which is New England, but Milton, Massachusetts is also a suburb of Boston, and that's where George Bush Sr. was born. To them, Skull and Bones is something admirable. Yes, kill the sacred feminine. That's what's going on now. And another thing that's coming out now at the same time as you're seeing all this destruction of the sacred feminine ritual is the release of the Epstein files. I saw somebody say that 3 million files is just not credible. But the main thing to focus on now is what has come out, regardless of the number of files. If there were 5 files, what has come out now, is it credible or not? Now, if it's not credible, that means Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates are innocent victims whose names are being smeared unfairly. Now, what has come out on Donald Trump, it'll be interesting to see how he defends it. At first, the perception was it's Bill Clinton, so it's legit. It's Democrats, it's legit. Well, now Trump is involved, and there are others, and that is part of destruction of the sacred feminine. So what will happen now as a result of what's come out, regardless of how many files there are or really are, whatever has been released, are they legitimate or not? So, I mean, Donald Trump especially it's interesting to see. Maybe there is a legitimate defense. You know, you never want to falsely accuse someone. I don't want to see anyone falsely accused, especially if things as heinous as this. But this is part of the destruction of the sacred feminine. There are talks of, so one of the things that's come out in one of the recent file dumps is, remember Robin Leach, who used to host Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous? He's from England. He's British, but he used to host what used to be a popular show, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. His name has come up in the Epstein files. He supposedly violated a female and then choked her to death. And you can see the same symbolism with the Salem witch trials and the 130 and the hanged man upside down 130. Robin Leach is said to have choked one of his victims to death. That came out. Now, Robin Leach has passed away, but there's very damning stuff on Trump. And like I said, everybody deserves to clear their name if they're being treated unfairly. That's what's out there. And MAGA, it's not a good moment for MAGA unless there's a good explanation. One of the things that came out is that Donald Trump auctioned off young girls. He auctioned them off. So there was a bidding war. They're literally paying money for girls. That's actually come out. That's one of the things that's come out now. And there's worse stuff than that. But that is what when you see the ICE videos and all the ICE raids, you'll see that it's disproportionately focused on women. Now, Pettit is a male, but what is his occupation? He's a nurse. That's care. Sacred feminine is a metaphor. The metaphorical sacred feminine is a metaphor for care. So, like I said, females can, it's metaphorical. Females can exhibit the sacred masculine. They can exhibit will and willpower and courage. And males can exhibit love and care and compassion and empathy as well. And that's actually what Pettit represents. He represents the metaphorical sacred feminine. And so you're seeing a lot of that with the ICE raids, disproportionately, there video after video after video with these huge, humongous males. It's not enough that they're males and they're humongous. They've got body armor. They're covered in combat gear for a full-out war against just females, just civilian females. And it's image after image disproportionately focused on females. This is destruction of the sacred feminine symbolism, which is going in overdrive. But the Super Bowl is held at a time, and the symbolism is there. In the Pro Bowl, the Super Bowl has always honored the sacred feminine, not by coincidence, when it's held. And this is by design. It is held around the time of St. Bridget's Day.
Yeah, and so yeah, and as I was like looking at all this, you know, it really did remind me of all the stuff you talked about earlier this year, Rambo, with the destruction of the sacred feminine, and and how it seems that I mean, obviously we know all these riddles are almost constantly going on. Like every riddle that we follow, you could probably say that it's constantly being, you could follow it constantly. If you just picked one riddle, you could follow it. But obviously, this is a continuation of that whole thing you talked about, and obviously which has also been going on for longer than we can imagine. So, and I think that with all this, you know, with all this stuff going on with the like you said, the Epstein files and all the stuff happening to the women, and then somebody in the chat had mentioned a little bit ago about what was it? Billie Eilish just came out and said something about being on stolen land or something. So like a lot of different like ways that it kind of connects. Also, Maggie put, was it this person that you were talking about?
Yes, Robin Leach. Yes, he choked the girl to death. That's what came out in the files. He violated her sexually and then choked her to death. That's one of the things in the latest, in a drop of files.
Yeah, so interesting that I'm pretty sure that's the correct spelling, right? So that equals 51.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Another thing. Oh yeah, no, go ahead. It's okay. Go ahead.
But yeah, no. All I was going to mention is, you know, it kind of going back to one of the first slides I mentioned about Caleb Mandrake and Luke McNamara talking about their greatest fear was Joshua Jackson's character says that her mother died in a car crash. Right? Wasn't her father? Wasn't wasn't his mother or his father or his brother or his sister or his cousin? It was his mother who died in a car crash. Right? So,
and you know, there's really something interesting about this character here that Rambo brought up. I mean, there's so many things interesting here. She was 60 years old when she died. It happened on June 10th, which is interesting, right before June 11th, which is of course Rambo's birthday, and where right before the World Cup this year. And
yeah, I don't think they were quoting in Rambo's. Maybe they were.
You never know, Ram.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, well.
And hey, you know what? Hold on, really quick. I was meaning to get a slide for it together, but total side note, talking about Drake the male duck, etc. I don't know if you guys saw this on Instagram, but Kenan Thompson, right? He was in the Mighty Ducks 2 movie. Literally just this week, he was at a home game for the Mighty Ducks, and he held up a script. Oh, I got to be careful about this about this camera. He held up a script against the glass, and it says Mighty Ducks 4.
Oh, really?
So now, I mean that there's no official announcement about it, but I'm not kidding you guys. Go look at that. Kenan Thompson, Mighty Ducks 4. You will see he went to a game. He was in the tunnel. He's high-fiving everybody, and then he's sitting right behind the glass, and he holds up. Yeah, hey, Cody, yeah, can you try to pull up an image of it? Because type in Kenan Thompson. Yeah, Kenan Thompson, Mighty Ducks 4. And you should find it. It's not official, but it's just amazing to me. Like this to me is kind of like The Hand Part 2, right? Where I was talking about Happy Gilmore and The Hand and all this kind of stuff. And then right after I released that book, then we have Happy Gilmore 2. And all three of us have been talking about the Mighty Ducks for a long time now. And then now we have Kenan Thompson all of a sudden flirting with the idea of a Mighty Ducks 4 movie. How are they even going to do that? These guys are what, in their mid 40s or 50s now at this point? I mean, goodness.
Yeah, but
of course he's wearing
just crazy,
you know,
considering how much we've talked about this, and now this is what's happening. And also Thompson, like you just talked about how Klay Thompson's birthday is also the Super Bowl.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Yep.
So Like it just seems like that's probably connect. And with the ice theme, the hockey, hockey, ice. Again,
Iceland, they face Iceland when Kenan Thompson
right.
comes into the picture, all that stuff. Yep.
Yeah, and so the ice thing is also connected with, water becomes ice, right? So almost like freezing over the water, right? Which is kind of like stopping the birth. Like, if the water is the birthing thing, if you freeze it to ice, of course you can't be born out of ice.
Right. Yep.
So that's kind of what I think maybe connects as well, which also might connect back to the whole 130 thing, because the 130 and 131, right? Like these numbers are, you could say that they are part of the rule of Colel, right? Which I talked about, which is clearly being used. I mean, the reason we don't talk about it so much is because people would see it as cheating, but it's clearly part of this, the rule of Colel. And so that means you would have the number 131, 130 being tied. And this is a number that's, of course, connected with all these things. The 131 is a huge number I'm going to talk about thanks to Rambo and his connections with all the train 131. And wait till you guys see what I found on that once I get that together. The whole thing with Mary Steenburgen and her recent movie she released, Last Train to Fortune, and then also the how it actually connects, this whole thing with this Mary theme that goes to her, connects to her, and then connects to Trump's father, interestingly enough. And what was Trump's mother's name, first of all? Mary. So, and wait, when did she die?
Well, Cody, we talked a lot too about just the female replacing the male connections in the series of the Mighty Ducks, right?
Right.
How the main male, Gordon Bombay, right, and all that stuff, right? He has to step aside, and then now you have the tutor, the female, stepping in to be the head coach for a game, and then you got what's his name, Goldberg, the goalie. He's terrible, but he's the starter, and then they have to pull him, and then they replace him with a female goalie, right? So we've talked a lot about this male-female symbolism for a while now.
Wow. I did not know this, but check this out. Mary Ann McLeod Trump, her paternal grandparents, Alexander McLeod and Anne McLeod. Her maternal grandparents were Donald Smith and Mary Macaulay. So think about that. Macaulay Culkin. I just titled this in with how his mother just died, right? And now Trump's mother is connected with the name Macaulay. So, I mean, it's just one big web as usual. I mean, I don't think, I feel like that this is a big part of like Trump's family, again, coming back around to that. It's just the fact that his mother name was Mary, first of all. And then with what Rambo had brought up before about this Bridget, she gave birth to Mary.
And don't forget about that movie, shout out Spadium. There's Something About Mary. That movie, There's Something About Mary with Cameron Diaz and Ben Stiller.
Mm-hmm.
What does she do? She puts, what in her hair? She thinks it's gel. another male female birthing.
Yeah, it's
ritual
alchemy
there too.
It's
there
alchemy.
You go. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this woman also, her child was Mary, and she gave birth to Mary in Boston in 1665. And then also she got married to Captain Samuel. Interesting, with Sam Darnold. She got married to Captain Samuel. What's that say? Wassel in St. Mary's Church. So I mean, there's another clearly paying tribute to Mary. So yeah, I mean, and I think that's a big part of the reasons why we're seeing a lot of 51s.
Yeah, so when I say pay tribute to Mary, if she's a Mary symbol and they hang her, it's
Yeah.
destruction of Mary.
Yeah.
It's not tribute, it's destruction. So when they invoke any entity in ritual, you have to ask, are they venerating the entity or are they cursing? Or we talked about Sirius. Sometimes Sirius, which Sirius is associated with higher knowledge. That's where you get the sir. When you're knighted in Britain, you get the title of sir. You're at a higher level. That comes from Sirius. But very often you'll see Sirius rituals where Sirius is invoked, either through gematria or other forms of symbolism. Are they cursing Sirius or are they venerating Sirius? In this case, if they're not, it's not a tribute to Mary. It is destruction of Mary and what Mary represents, which is a divine feminine.
Yeah. I was just really talking about how that her birth that she gave birth to supposedly was Mary, not necessarily her death being a tribute to Mary. Yeah, I get what you mean about the definitely about her death being a destruction of the Mary, but that's probably why her child's name is Mary.
Yeah, so she's a symbol of the sacred feminine, and they use different traditions, whether it's the Celtic tradition or the Christian tradition. Bridget or Mary, which they've encoded both of those in her narrative. They're destroying it. So they're destroying the broader sacred feminine, regardless of tradition. But they use different traditions here for the sacred feminine. Here they're using both the Christian and the Celtic and the Gaelic, but they're destroying it. That's the key. They're desecrating it, which is what the Epstein files is all about. It's about it's all coming out now. But again, it's very important to remember why the Super Bowl is held when it is, and why New England is so dominant in football, especially after 9/11. All goes back to this: the Salem witch trials, the sacred feminine, invoked St. Bridget's Day.
And did you see that? What was I gonna? They're saying that one of her other names was Goody.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Goody. So doesn't that kind of tie into
what
we just had a Renee Good?
Yeah, and what did they do with her? They shot her. It's the destruction of the sacred feminine is in high gear right now, like never before.
Yeah. I have to look into more like why she got the name Goody, but it lists it as one of her other names. So
no, but you can see how she represents. That's the metaphor. That's what the metaphorical sacred feminine. It's part of the Trinity. Skull bones. It comes from the Babylonian Trinity was Nimrod, Tammuz, Semiramis. Semiramis was the feminine, and she was the dove. Christianity got that from the Babylonian Trinity, where the dove was the sacred feminine, but Christianity is monotheistic, so it couldn't have a female, which Judaism did the same thing. There was shout out to Casey, who was a scholar. I'm very honored to have her as a patron. He talked about the history of Judaism. It used to be Elohim were plural. It was El, male, Elah, the female, and in the original Solomon's Temple, which, I mean, there's no proof that ever existed, but still, in ancient Judaism, Elah was venerated. Male, female, El and Elah. They got rid of Elah. That you talk about the ultimate destruction of sacred feminine. That's original Judaism had a sacred feminine, Elah. And even in the temple, they honored Elah. Sometimes they use the almond tree, and you can see why they use the almond tree, because what's the shape of the almond? It's the same shape as the football. It's the same shape as the Pro Bowl. It's the female generative. It's a symbol of the female generative organ. And that's why it had an almond tree. Well, they got rid of that. That's not in Judaism anymore. Now it's just one, the male, imbalance. So this is something that goes back. And look at the state of the world now as a result of all this imbalance.
Isn't it interesting too, Rambo, that she was exonerated on Halloween?
On Halloween
in 2001.
In 2001 by a female acting. Remember, I talked about AJ just brought this up. A female taking over from a male, and very often, like Gerald Ford gave that speech in Iowa at the Herbert Hoover Library, where he said the female will not be elected. He's talking about the president of the United States. The male will be elected. He'll appoint a female running mate, he'll be incapacitated. In this case, Gerald Ford predicted that the male would die and that the female would assume the presidency that way, and then in the future, you would get elected females, and that he even said in the future females will dominate politics. Well, that's what happened in Massachusetts. That's how in 2001. That's why Jane Swift was governor of Massachusetts. She was not elected. She was appointed as a deputy to the male governor of Massachusetts, who I can't remember. I can't recall why he had to leave office, but he was forced out of office. By default, she became the Massachusetts governor, in exactly the way I was talking about, a male assuming office in Gerald Ford's prediction. And I think part of the reason they had him leave is so that you'd have a female in office at the time that the victims of the Salem witch trials, and the most preeminent name being Bridget Bishop, would be exonerated. They wanted a female specifically to exonerate her. And again, it was, what year was it in? It was in 2001, on Halloween of 2001. Jane Swift was the Massachusetts governor, and there's some gematria there with her birthday. Her birthday is February 24th. 224 is the gematria of the mutable cross, which is St. Peter's cross, the upside down cross, which is the hanged man. Mm-hmm. So they had it all in place. They wanted a female with a 224 birthday to exonerate. In 2001, Bridget Bishop and 4 other victims of the Salem witch trials.
So that would have been, I just wanted to see how many days after 9/11. That would have been.
Yeah, 9/11 kicked all this destruction of sacred feminine.
Oh, of course, it's 50 or 51 days.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Yep. There you go.
That's back to the 51 somehow, huh?
Yep.
And then or 50, like I said, the 50 has been another big number with the Super Bowl as well. Because they had that blackout, and remember, this whole thing is connected to Clara Clayton, who in the Super Bowl's in Santa Clara, which is the connection with the feminine aspect of Saint Francis of Assisi, right? So she was kind of like, it wasn't his wife, but was his counterpart or worked with him. So yeah, it's interesting that was 51 days after 9/11, the divine feminine 9/11. And now here we are. It'd be interesting to see, also how many days it was before Drake May was born, because again, he was born that next year.
He was August 30th, right?
Yeah. Which again was, oh, okay. So it's interesting. He's born a span of 10 months before that or after that.
See, where's number 10? Wow. Good one.
Yeah. So that's really interesting.
Well,
I mean,
well, hey, no, I was just gonna say we're coming up close to the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
And
I gotta start getting wrapped up myself.
Yeah. So I want to try to start landing the plane slowly. However, we do have a very special guest in the back room, who would love to chime in, ask a couple questions. He goes by 47 Slouch on Instagram, and a lot of what he touches on is this divine feminine and the male female perspective, a lot of the things that we talk about, right? And he's been very receptive to a lot of the things that I've shared with him, and he's been watching our show for the last several weeks. And I would love to bring him in if you guys are okay with that. And Cody, I know you got to drop off whenever you have to. No big deal. I get it. It's late. It's early for you. So I figured we could.
I'll probably just do about 20 more minutes.
Okay.
Because I don't want to stay longer than that, because I got stuff I got to do kind of earlier in the morning. Of course, it's already there.
Yeah. No, it's all good, man. It's all good. I just wanted to bring in 47 Slouch. He became a very quick dear friend of mine, a very young chap who's very, very knowledgeable. And so without further ado, 47 Slouch. What's up, brother? How are you?
How's everybody doing? It's a pleasure being here with you guys. I love what you guys have been able to put out so far. I've been receiving a lot and just taking in all the information. Shout out Rambo, shout out KODI, shout out AJ as always. But yeah, so I'm 47 Slouch. My Instagram is about practicing the meditation, teaching people about lymphatic and anatomical meditation, teaching people about occult symbolism, predominantly the right and the left hemisphere of the brain, and how everything kind of all stimulates back to the meditation and the breath. I also now I'm getting more into the gematria side of things. Shout out to AJ for really being a teacher in it and sending me all his books, and I've been reading up and keeping myself informed on that, and also doing my own research. So I wanted to point out something that Rambo mentioned about how all this is about the divine feminine and the divine masculine, just the understanding of both of those natures, the twofold nature of reality. I find it interesting how the Pro Bowl statue, the trophy, I should say, reminds me of the female reproductive system. And then the Super Bowl trophy is more of like a phallus. It's more of like the masculine looking. And so there's the duality of that as well. You guys are also talking about Mary and the moon. And that's why a lot of these Renaissance paintings of Mary, she's standing on a crescent moon, which is very well known in occult practice. And it kind of goes to, I made a thread yesterday about the Super Bowl and the conflicts with ICE and even the beef with Drake and Kendrick, and just the political climate, the entertainment climate, as well as just the sports climate of the world, how the microcosm is the microcosm, how the microcosm is the macrocosm. Everything is basically all telling the same story. And so how do I share my screen? Like this? So
You can request it, and then I'll give it to you, brother.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Worst case scenario, Slouch.
Yeah.
I can share my screen if you wanted me to pull something up for you, unless you had something very specific.
Yeah, I could.
There's
Let
just
me do this then.
a little button down there. I don't know if you see it, but there's a little button in the back screen. It says plus. It's like a plus with a screen, and then you just click that, and you click share screen, and then it'll pull up what window you want to open. You can pull up one window, or you can pull up all your windows.
Well, now this thing isn't leaving my screen. I messed something up. But if you if you want, I could send you the notes file that I had, and if you want to share it on your side, AJ or whoever, I can send it to.
Yeah, Slouch. If you want to just email it to me, I can pull it up really quick, and then I can share.
Do you have your messages on your computer? Because I could send it directly to your number.
I do, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna send that to you right now. Sorry about that, guys. I'm still very new to this.
No, it's all good. But Slouch is also a musician. He's a man of many talents. So yeah, like I'll say this right now: 47 Slouch on Instagram. Make sure that you guys are following him on Instagram. Good people, man. I mean that this guy has humbled me in more ways than I can count. And he's what, 12 years younger than me.
I guess so. Just about. I guess so. Yeah. So
you're running circles around me, man.
No, well, listen. You guys are great teachers, and I'm always learning from you and from everybody. I'm just trying to be a sponge in my youth. You know, I believe that the childlike mindset is the most important mindset to have. You know, when the brain is growing the most when you're at your infancy, when you're in your infant stages. So I feel like always keeping that childlike mindset throughout life is just very important. Socrates says he's as wise as he is because he knows nothing. So I always know nothing as much as I'm learning. But before AJ pulls up,
yeah, I'm working on it. Sorry,
the folder. I'll basically give an introduction to what I'm talking about. It's all energy harvest. When we talk about black magic, when we talk about the moon and how it has an effect on people's minds and the system of the body, they perform these political moves, these tragedies. They create movies, and the sports also reflect the number one talking point, which is the police state against the people. And I believe that this is all a precursor for the one world militarized government, and how the instance of it being the Seahawks and the Patriots, how it's Drake and Kendrick, how it's ICE against the people, and then Renee Good, Alex Preddy, the sacrificial lambs, in my opinion, to promote the police state against the people. This is all being done not only using numerical rituals and using famous people from the past to represent the things that are happening now, but it's also made to desensitize people into understanding, oh, well, this is the way of the world. You know, it's like predictive programming. Whenever AJ is ready to...
I'm almost there, brother.
I got
Almost
you.
there.
I got you.
Here we go.
Cool.
It's the best I
Okay.
can do.
That's fine. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, so the bottom, you can scroll to where the caption is. So basically just the Super Bowl, Venezuela, ICE, Bad Bunny, Trump, the Hunger Games, Pope Francis, and the Ritual. Bad actors. So if we go to the second slide, just basic numerology, you know, Sam is 33, Masonry is 33, and we understand 33 is the highest degree in Freemasonry. We love our Masonic symbolism. Now, I get a lot of flack for this. I was getting a lot of flack for this in the comment section about Sam Darnold. This is his first playoff appearance. It technically isn't. Last year when he was with the Minnesota Vikings, that was the first time that he went to the playoffs. Oh, well, he was in the wild card game, but I didn't consider the wild card game to be an official playoff game, because after all the wild card games are completed, that's when you have the official playoff bracket. So I was making the point how this is Sam Darnold's first year in the playoffs after playing for 8 seasons. This is his first time on the Seahawks, and he's already an NFC champion. And now we can go to the second one. And Drake May. This is his first playoff appearance. Drake is also 33. And we also understand the Drake and the Kendrick. Drake is a male duck, Kendrick Duckworth, right? Which I'm also going to explain later on, which I kind of piggybacked off of you guys, actually, when I watched that one live stream you guys did. So he is an AFC champion, or NFC, I forgot. That's the NFC, right? No, that is AFC, yeah. And the Patriots last year were only a 4-win team. So just seeing these two teams just kind of come out of nowhere, Sam Darnold having 2 breakout years, and it's ironic to me how these 2 breakout years are when he's with the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. And now when we get into the Patriots, when we talk about the militarized government against the people, which is the main story, which is used to desensitize us into just being groomed into this future lifestyle, the Patriots represent America. And the Patriots won in 2001 after 9/11, right? And this was the beginning of the greatest team run in football history. You know, the Patriots necessarily didn't need to draft a quarterback. They had a pretty decent team, and Tom Brady wasn't a high draft stock. So it's funny how Tom Brady, Tom also equals 33, gets drafted to the Patriots, and they win in 2001, and this starts their journey of being the greatest dynasty in football history. The whole topic right now against the people, against the government, is the race thing. You know, it's George Floyd and the cops, black on white. ICE against the civilians. It's, you know, the Latino Americans or Mexico versus the white man, right? Everything is about the race divide. So racism equals 99, patriot equals 99, the United States of America also equals 99. At the same time that the Patriot Act was enacted, people were having tremendous fear in the Muslim community. Islamophobia was at an all-time high. So now that we see that the Patriots are back in the Super Bowl today, we are seeing a lot of that racial divide now with the whole ISIS area. So that's why I make that connection. And so the Patriots represent America. Now, the Seahawks represent Mexico. 30 to 40% of the illegal immigrants come from Mexico. And since it's the Hawks, the Sea Eagle, that is the Mexican flag, which the symbol in the Mexican flag is an eagle. and we have Eagles 24, Seahawks is 24. There's also the connection with the Pope. Every time a Pope has been elected, the Seahawks have made it to the Super Bowl and then lost. Besides the 1 year when Pope Benedict resigned, the Seahawks made it to the Super Bowl and won. So it's kind of interesting how even when you can make the argument, like people will try and make the argument with me, well, because the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl. I think it was 2014 or 2013, one of the years that aren't there. But that's when you tell them, well, listen, Pope Benedict resigned that year. So that's the symbolism there as well. And also
it makes me think of eggs Benedict, like how birds lay eggs. You guys know I love my wordplay, something to think about.
Absolutely. And so Pope Leo the 14th, Sam Darnold is number 14. So that's another clue. So that's where I see the United States against Mexico, the Patriots against the Seahawks. So we also see the Bad Bunny symbolism. Now, you guys also told me a lot about the bunny, the red car, Donnie Darko. Amazing stuff. I was absolutely mind blown by the stuff that you were talking about. But we also remember Bad Bunny is in cahoots with Venezuelan government. Remus Entertainment Group had a massive loan by the guy by the name of Rafael Jimenez, who worked in the Venezuelan defense team for Hugo Chavez. Then there's a lot of controversy going on. People who are in government in Puerto Rico have asked to have an audit of Remus Entertainment Group because they have scaled their business in the billions since Bad Bunny's inception. And they don't like how Venezuela has massive amounts of influence within Remus Entertainment Group. Remember, Hugo Chavez opened up the borders and was a huge traffic for cocaine, just drugs that were pushing through Central America, North America, even parts of the UK. And a lot of, it says it here, U.S. agencies like the DEA alleged that state institutions were deliberately weakened or co-opted, making trafficking easier rather than harder, right? So Bad Bunny performing in the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl halftime show also owned by Jay-Z, who it just came out that he would watch Harvey Weinstein sexually assault people. It's all connected. And the reason why it doesn't make sense, well, it's so funny how Venezuela is also a hot topic right now, and ICE is a hot topic, and Bad Bunny's on both sides of the spectrum, which creates that psychological warfare, right? It confuses people to the point where they can't think anymore. They can't think about, well, how does that make sense? If Bad Bunny, you can go to the next slide. If Bad Bunny wants to say that he doesn't want to perform in the Super Bowl because ICE might be at his concert. I mean, he doesn't want to perform in the US because ICE is going to be at his concerts, but then goes to perform in the biggest American halftime show in existence. That's another form of just psychological warfare. It's because they are telling you something, but then they're doing the complete opposite, which is also what you would consider karmic retribution, how they're going to tell you, they're going to show you the symbols of what they do, but they'll say something completely different, but they show you the symbolism, and it's up to you to really decipher what the truth is. You could also make the argument, how is Bad Bunny, with all this Venezuelan influence, being able to perform in the Super Bowl with this whole Trump and ICE hysteria also going on? It's just a lot of contradicting, conflicting elements that are going on, and they all resemble each other. So that's the biggest thing that I want people to realize. All of the stuff from the performance to the actual Super Bowl, who was in it, to the political spectrum, and even on a religious scale, it all connects, and it all points towards the one world militarized government. You can go to the next slide. And here's just more antagonization, right? This is just more stuff to keep people distracted. As soon as Bad Bunny says you have 4 months to learn Spanish for the Super Bowl, Trump then goes and officially makes English the official language of the United States. Now, he could have done that at any point, but he chose to specifically do it after Bad Bunny said it because he knew that was going to be that's the talking point. It's the Bad Bunny said this, then Trump did that. It's to cause more conversation between the two parties, right? Trump equals 47, government equals 47, and also 133.
And he is number 47.
And he is the number 4, and he is the 47th president. And we understand the 47th problem of Euclid in Freemasonry, which is how you find the foundation for a building. So Trump is the new foundation. He is the beginning of the new world order. That is why he also said we are in the golden age. And when you understand astrology, that to me, that's a mixture of the Aquarian age as well as Saturn worship. And Saturn is also represented with gold. That's why the Keba, Mecca, the black cube is black and gold, and that represents law, jurisdiction, restriction. That's why judges wear black robes. Graduation, when you graduate, you wear a black robe with a black cube, essentially. Well, it's a square, but just a black square on your head, which also could represent the pole of Saturn, or in Freemasonry, the circle and the square. So that's just another instigation. And now remember, Republicans or people on the right will use this argument right here, what I'm about to say, for why the left needs to stop freaking out about ICE right now, when they didn't say anything about the deporter-in-chief, President Barack Obama, who deported 3 million people and thousands of legal residents who were here on a permit. The reason why the media didn't push at that point in time, Republicans will say it's because they want the Democrats to rule the world. No, it's because Trump is President Snow, ice, right? But Trump is President Snow. So it fits his role that people have scrutiny over Trump rather than Obama, because Trump is the beginning to the precursor of the militarized government. So the media attention needed to be focused on Trump, because that's what fits the symbology of the movies, of just the symbol of what a one world dictator looks like. President Snow and President Trump have like the same archetype. They're like the same looking person. So that's why the media attention for us as the civilians wasn't so heavily pressed on Obama's deportations, but rather Donald Trump's deportations. Because remember, the same guy who runs ICE now is the same guy that ran ICE back then. And this is a picture of him receiving the Medal of Honor. And nobody talked about it to the extent of what's happening right now. And we could just follow the numbers. ICE equals 17. Renee Good dies on January 7th. All of that. So that's basically where I stand on this whole thing. Is, of course, they're going to use the symbology of the people that you mentioned. They're going to use the numbers. They're going to create content like Bill Gates standing in front of Levi's with the hot dog, and Heinz and Kraft and all of that. They're going to use that. But I believe all of that is to then also push the agenda of, like I said, the one world government, the militarized state. They want people to be used to having the military in the streets rather than it being your local police officer, because it invokes more fear and it also promotes more power as a state. And this has been happening for thousands and thousands of years across all different nations, across all different, eras of life. So we're just following suit of the never-ending cycle. And that's that.
That's an awesome presentation, Slouch. Seriously. Great way to put it, right? Because we've talked a bit about Puerto Rico and, the flag representing the United States. Obviously, it's a U.S. territory, etc. But with everything that you pointed out, right? I mean, in what universe are we seeing a commander-in-chief infiltrating another country? And people are just like, oh, yeah, here we go.
One more thing, I'll point this out very quickly. But then let's talk the other microcosm or macrocosm, whichever way you want to put it, whichever scale you want to put it on, the Drake and Kendrick beef, right? Kendrick represents us, right? The protesters. I would say that that's the Mexico side. He's from Compton, heavy Latino influence in Compton as well. And Kendrick was exposing Drake, especially the song Meet the Grams, which throughout that whole beef, people don't understand. Meet the Grams is the most alerting song out of the beef. Not Like Us is the one that is getting all the attention and the one that Drake is suing for. But that's also symbolism, because it's trying to steer people away from the fact that the Meet the Grams song, that's where he's talking the most about Drake working with the secret societies. Hollywood is filled with sexual exploitation, and child pedophilia and all of that. So Drake would represent the United States, Drake would represent the system, the deep state, all the sexual blackmail, and Kendrick would represent the freedom, the man, the civilian. So that's where you could also make that comparison as well.
Yeah, so Rambo and or maybe Cody first. Cody, I know you gotta go soon. Based off of anything that Slouch presented, I mean, you got anything else to add or question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, nice to meet you, man, and great work, and super bright, and so very good at making your point, very good speaking. So I appreciate what you shared there, and everything that you're talking about. It makes sense, and I really didn't think about. I mean, I was thinking about how Mexico might tie into this, and how that does have the bird on there, and how the Seahawks are the bird, and it does make a lot of sense. And as far as that goes, the Patriots also beat the Falcons in Super Bowl 51, as I mentioned earlier. So you have that same theme there with back then, even. So, and I think, with me, I think that we'll see what happens. But I mean, whether the Patriots win or the Seahawks win, I think it's going to be interesting to see like how it plays out, how the whole thing goes with the other halftime show going on with, of course, what's TPUSA is supposed to be throwing, the other halftime show.
Yeah.
Or kind of an alternate.
Talk about division.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. No, TPUSA is going to do their own Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah.
Talk
which
about
is
division.
grieving.
Yeah. Which is why,
exactly.
That's why, as I mentioned in my decode yesterday and here today, the TPUSA having the same birthday essentially as the Patriots owner and the Seahawks quarterback, and the Patriot Games, movie also. And like I said yesterday, this all connects back to the assassination stuff, but with the Patriot Games movie connecting to Harrison Ford, Trump was shot on his birthday. So yeah, there's so much things I could say, and I don't have a lot of time left, but I just wanted to really, emphasize that about the halftime show and Bad Bunny, and then the Donnie Darko thing. We could get into that as well, but with the Bad Bunny connection. And Trump did actually, it was in the news that Trump was announcing the Patriot Games. It was in the news on December 19th.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Which was Jake Gyllenhaal's birthday. And of course, that was the day, day of the fight, right? So the day of the Paul fight as well. So that day was huge, that December 19th date. And that was that was 51 days before the Super Bowl.
And again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
Go ahead.
And remember, the Patriot Games, it's one man and one woman that are representing the nation. Just like the Hunger Games, it's one man and one woman representing each district.
Yeah.
It's just, and then if you look at the Hunger Games movie, there's so much Masonic symbolism throughout the whole movie, especially since the government that runs it, it's literally a Masonic square and compass.
Yep. Yeah. Perfect addition. And, yeah, I just I'm going to get off here after this. I just wanted to, speak to you for a minute and thank you for being there and doing great work and being so young and being so. I wish I was as wise as you are now when I was your age, because
for real.
I mean, I was not a bad person, or I was not completely off I wasn't not a crazy person, or I had my wits about me. But you're definitely, it's good to see that this internet age, this age of information, is creating young people with the type of knowledge and awareness that you seem to have, and that's encouraging to me. So I appreciate you, and again, thank you to Rambo and for being here and doing his thing, and thank you, AJ, and thank you everyone in the chat. And I'm gonna get off here and try to catch some sleep, but I'll try to watch a bit more as you guys continue. But I just wanted to say thanks to everyone, and I'll see you guys in next week and I'll also be doing more live streams this week. So
nice to meet you, Cody. Awesome. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'll see you around, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Codes.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate you guys later. Man.
Yeah, see you next week.
Yeah, Cody and I are kind of the, sophomores, juniors, and Rambo is like the 8th year senior.
8th year senior? Well, I couldn't get into college.
Yeah, what he's a super senior.
That's not a
He's a
compliment.
super
Well,
duper
no,
senior.
no. It wasn't supposed to be a compliment. I called you the Godfather, and then you told me that you thought that it made you feel old. So
No, I never
mean,
said that.
should
I never said that. I never said that. I even told you I was called grandfather since the day I was born because I was named after my father's grandfather. So I don't take grandfather as a slight. I've always been called grandfather, but
Okay, well,
that's
I'll
okay.
just
I'm
start
not
calling you
fishing for
grandfather
compliments
then.
anyway. I mean, that's
No.
regardless. I mean, I'm not fishing for compliments, but Slouch, you are wise beyond your years. I know others have said that, but I reiterate, you are wise beyond your years, and hopefully you will. I'm sure you will. You will progress even further. So about the secret societies that run the world, from my perspective, I can speak for myself. I don't know. Is it one monolithic secret society which answers to one source? To me, it looks like there might be some rivalries between them. So if it's just one monolithic entity, then, and I don't know. I don't know how it's configured. You have groups and you have sub-orders within certain orders. You have some who disagree with each other, and there's one overarching. So I don't know how, but I don't think it's one monolithic. I think there's some disagreement. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how it's divided and compartmentalized, but it is. And one thing in psychology, like they do like to instill in people, is learned hopelessness. So sometimes when they put certain images out over and over again, it's to make people feel like they have really no ability to affect the world or their lives at all. And then you essentially give up. It's called learned hopelessness. There are very many ways in which they do that. And putting these images out over and over again is one of the ways they do that. But it's to instill learned hopelessness. But I don't think things are ever hopeless. But at the same time, I don't want to be Pollyanna and just say, yeah, things are going to be great. I mean, but they do try to instill that in you. Like, I can't honestly. I mean, like I said, I don't know how it's structured.
I can elaborate a little bit on it.
Yeah.
So like I said, my meat and potatoes to what I post is the meditation. Like I do, Bible study, just not only Bible, but just sacred scripture study from all different beliefs. And what I've learned is I don't necessarily believe that the goal is to change the world as the individual. I believe that since we create our own realities, I think you're very familiar with the experiment that they did when they put someone in a room with a chair, they looked at the chair and they put like a supersonic microscope on the chair, and the way that the atoms were bouncing off of each other and the molecular structure, when the person observed the chair, it was different from when the person wasn't observing the chair.
Yeah.
So
the double slit experiment.
The double slit experiment, exactly.
Yeah.
Just understanding that we literally create our reality through our consciousness, and everything is all outward. We're just having the relationship between the observable universe and whatever our mind creates, and it creates this reality. The sigil of Lucifer literally being a model of how light interacts with our eyes and how it goes into our brain and how it is received. So,
and to that point, Slouch, really quick, I'm just going to say, Rambo's emphasized many, many times that, Rambo, what is the percentage of how much light, like what that we actually take in to our eyes? It's like 0.0000.
Yeah, so it's the human eye perceives. It's 1/7. What is it? I think it's 1/7 of a one. I don't know. Like it's 1/7 of a thousandth or 7,000ths of 1%, something like that. It's a fraction of 1%, basically what it is. A minute of the total electromagnetic spectrum is what the human, and I've shown PhDs. Of course, it's mainstream science. I mean, David Icke talks about it, but it's not David Icke. It's science. It's actually science. And what they say in science is the human race is blind, literally, of the total electromagnetic spectrum. So, yeah, that's what you're referring to that I'm talking about. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so when we talk about is God one? Is the divine creator one being? Well, going back to what you said about the Elohim, the way you broke down the word Elohim was interesting, because that was the first way I've heard it broken down. But I learned from Jordan Maxwell, El is God, and Elohim is what S would be on an English word to make it plural. So like car
plural,
and then car, right? So it's El, God, and then it's just essentially gods.
But it was El and Elah. That's the male, female. Elah was the female.
Mm-hmm.
So the Elohim plural was the male and the females, El and Elah.
Yes.
So that was that was what I was saying. Yeah.
No, that was beautiful. That was perfect, and it made so much sense, and it just gave me more insight. And then I also, in that knowledge, right, and now I understand light, right? If Jesus depicts himself, and I don't look at the Bible as a literal, I look at it as a literary book when God calls himself light, and I understand that photons are the messenger particles within light. I believe that light or electricity or just high vibrational frequency, which creates light, is the start of all creation. So if you look at light, and when it refracts off of water, it creates 7 different colors. We have 1 week, 7 days, the solar system excluding the Earth, right? The one Earth around the 7 other planets. I believe everything is a fractal of 7. So even like the 7 main angels in the Bible, and all their first names end with L. I could maybe make the argument, maybe God is a fractal of one, and just like the microcosm is the macrocosm. So the divine creator sends this information down, because I also don't believe that we create our own thoughts. I believe that thoughts are like almost programmed, and then we make the decision with our free will to pick which thought we want to actually enact on. Just like how these secret societies, they all break up into these different belief systems and these different orders and different power structures. I believe that they are all consciousness. They are all part of the connective consciousness of the one divine creator. And maybe these secret societies are meant to be here to push the symbolism onto us in this way, to wake everybody up and have there be a full-on recycling period of knowledge and understanding. Because I believe the world is also in a sine wave. Good things have to happen. Well, bad things have to happen in order for people to even realize what the good is. And so that was just an extra point I just wanted to make about the mono, and if it's poly.
Without darkness, there is no light, right?
Exactly. There's always
without no light, there is no darkness, right? If
exactly.
You only know light, you don't know dark. Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the yin yang symbol. You need. I mean, for example, just say an ambient temperature, where you feel comfortable in. Like, suppose if you never felt extreme hot or you never felt extreme cold, there really would be no such thing as ambient temperature, because something's ambient in comparison to something. Like, something's hot in comparison to. There has to be a concept of cold, otherwise there's no hot. Like, Yeah, that's a very they use that a lot in Hermeticism. Where I emphasize that.
Gene Splice says, "Balll Don't Lie. Have 47 Slouch come back for another show. He is very interesting." So, yeah, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that. Wait, what was his name again? Who said that?
That was Gene Spliced.
Shout out Gene Splice. I would love to come back. Listen, it's funny because I've only started recently putting these threads together of all the stuff that I think about and actually putting it in format the way that I am now. These guys are the pros. These guys are on the money for real. And it's super interesting how much information you guys are able to find in such a small amount of time. I mean, it probably takes you guys hours, I could imagine, but still, it's just so amazing how you guys are able to be so on the money with a lot of this stuff, especially the video. The one where it was the viral video of the lady in her house shooing away the ICE officers, and she had the eye on the door and understanding like the backbone. She had a backbone. Like I was losing my mind. That was
thanks. Yeah, that honestly, that video is probably the video that has gotten the best response from me. It's literally my best video. Like response wise, I've gotten the best video. The title of the video was I-35, EYE-35, which is a play on the I-35, Interstate 35 that goes from Laredo, Texas, all the way up through Minneapolis. At the top of the I-35, they had the bridge collapse. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. That's actually the most positive feedback I've gotten on any other video. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, very well deserved. You did a great on that one for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, for real, Rambo. That was crazy. Especially just, oh my God. You know, one thing, Rambo, that you've always said since I've ever talked to you was just that we are in one massive web. We are in a massive web. And we're only cracking, you know, it goes back to the light spectrum, right? You know, we're only getting 0.000% of, you know, a fraction of 1% of light. That's the only little sliver of the whole web that we're getting, right? But hey, we're getting somewhere. And it's just it's so cool. Sorry, go ahead, Slouch.
Yeah, it's so funny you said that, right? So the light only gives us a sliver of what we could see. But that's why I teach the meditation and sitting in the darkness, because the darkness reveals a lot about who you are as a person. Like in the meditation, when you sit in silence for 10 to 15 minutes with your eyes closed, melatonin releases from your brain, dimethyltryptamine, which DMT, which is the chemical that releases when you have dreams and when you die. All these different sacred fluids are releasing from your brain. And another thing that's happening is it's almost like if you watch all of your thoughts, right, on a conveyor belt, and there's a trash can at the end and you're watching them. You're watching your thoughts just going to the garbage, going to the garbage, going to the garbage. There's a certain point in time when the brain stops registering reality from the observable universe and it starts fully reflecting on the self. You know, but it takes a while, especially if you're a person that doesn't sit in silence with your eyes closed and meditate. It takes a long time for people to get to a point of no thought. But that's essentially what that point is.
Slouch, yeah. Rambo and I literally last week after we wrapped up our live stream, I was talking to him about my struggles with that. And I know I'm not the only one where, you know, I'm my own worst enemy. I think most people are, even if they don't admit it. I can't turn my brain off after like 8 p.m. 8 p.m., boom, like my brain goes through the roof. And that's essentially what you were saying was another way of what Rambo was telling me, where it's like you need to remove yourself from your thoughts.
Oh,
you need to realize that your thoughts are not you, literally you. You know, you're shout out to Donnie Darko and shout out to you, Rambo, for really giving me a punch in the gut and being like, you have to watch that movie. The moment I watched it, it changed my life. You know,
the whole in the gut.
Yeah, you're the real, your real self is the one observing the thoughts.
Right.
So when you're observing
it's not you that are thinking it. It's sorry.
Yeah, so you don't beat yourself up when you can't do that. You're still you can.
And that's what your dreams are. Like when you get chased in your dreams, it's because you are running away from something in your life. Everything, your mind also creates the symbolism. It takes everything that you've seen in the observable universe and it creates this one reality. It takes not only the things that you've seen, but it takes your own thoughts. You become the driver, and like think about it in racing, right? You become the race car driver in dreams, but you're also the person watching the race at the same time. So you're having your dream, but you're also reflecting on who you are as a person. Only certain people can understand that that's what dreams really are. But you are connecting to source. Like you gain discernment, you gain critical thinking, you gain knowledge when you put yourself in this meditative state. And that, you know, Mercury, I might have gone a little tangent right now, but Mercury, right? He holds the caduceus, which is the staff with the serpents and the wings. That's the symbol for meditation. The serpents are the sexual energy, which is our temptation, which is our desires. That's why Adam and Eve are tempted by a snake in the garden. The staff is the spine, and how it talks about taking your energy from your lower half of yourself, your beast mentality, to your upper half into the right hemisphere of the brain where your creativity, your outside the box thinking is. That's why in Roman Catholic Church, I grew up Roman Catholic my entire life. We would repeat it over and over again in the Nicene Creed. Jesus descended into hell, ascended into heaven, and is seated at the right hand of the Father. You know, everything, even the Department of Sanitation logo, which I talk about all the time on my page, is the caduceus. But why is it on the side of a garbage truck and no one knows what it means? You know, that's another form of just the karmic retribution, showing you the symbol, showing you the truth without fully giving you the answer. So when you talk about light only giving you a fractal, it's because that's what all of the deities in these sacred scriptures are talking about. It's like, it's not in the light. It's in the darkness. Everything. That's why it's occult symbolism. That's why it's occult, because occult is the hidden and you can't see in the dark.
Right. While most people hear the word occult and it's like, it's all bad. All of it's bad.
Yeah, like so that's why you should specify like the negative occult or the dark occult, because some of it is bad.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying everything hidden is not bad.
Yeah. So that's I think that's why you specify like the dark occult, or even the word dark. That's not necessary. So yeah, but it's an evil, the negative occult, and there's a more positive occult. But some of it is bad, and some of it is positive.
Yeah.
Same thing with symbols. It depends how they're being used, how they're being invoked. I was talking about how when they invoke certain things, are they desecrating it or are they venerating it? You know.
I have a question for you, Rambo. So when you say dark occult, and well, not dark, but like good occult and bad occult, right? I understand that like the occult itself is being able to manipulate or just being able to fully use what the human body was born to do in terms of creating reality, manifestation, energy harvest, right? These things that we know how to do as beings, maybe it's been removed from society because of the power structure, right? But is it more of like a thing where guns don't kill people, people kill people? Like the practices that these people do, they could either use it for good or use it for bad, or is there deliberate occult? Is there deliberate things that like powers that humans have that they shouldn't be doing because it will promote bad outcomes? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's like fire. Fire can burn your house down, or it can cook your food and heat your house in the winter. It depends on who's the intention of the person using it. That's what I would say. And I think fire is the best metaphor for that. What are you going to use? Are you going to be an arsonist? Or, are you going to do things like melt steel to make tools? Again, like heat your house in winter, cook your food. It depends how you're using the power. It's the intention of the practitioner, is how I would put it.
It's just like a knife, right? I mean, it's that whole same argument. Like, a knife can cut food. It can cut down trees. It can, I'm not saying cutting down trees is a good thing, but you get my point. Like the knife can be used for a million things. The gun can be used for a million things. Fire can be used for a million things. Yeah. Water can be used for a million things. It's all about the intention of how it's being used, right? So, well, hey, we're coming up now. We're starting to flirt with the 3-hour mark. Hey, Slouch, but before I finally land the plane here, if you had any other follow-up questions for Rambo, now would be the time to do it. There's already people in the chat right now, by the way, that already loved your presentation, your expertise, your knowledge. We appreciate you, man, and we would love to have you back. We appreciate you always tuning in. I know you're fairly new to the Eye to Eye podcast and learning more about it. And hey, I want to just also thank you for plugging us, so to speak, on some of your reels on Instagram. But once again, you guys, it's 47 Slouch. It's right there, right underneath his name on Instagram. Please give him a follow. But yeah, let's kind of wrap it up here. I already gave my piece about, the skulls and things to think about with the Super Bowl. But Slouch, I'll give it back to you really quick as we wrap things up.
I appreciate it, guys. I'll make this quick. I don't really have any questions, but I will give like my outro. Thank you for everyone for listening. I appreciate all the people that are receptive to the knowledge that I'm giving, as well as I'm super appreciative of being able to be in spaces like with AJ, like with Rambo, like with KODI, even a handful of other people that I've met throughout my time getting into this stuff full time, actually posting and gaining a little bit of attention from it on social media. I've been able to meet so many different people and talk to so many different people. So I'm extremely grateful for that. I guess the one thing that I would say, the one message that I want to get to people is all of this stuff is very, very important and it's amazing to learn. I would just love to stress the reason why all of this is happening. It's because they are using laws and principalities that every human being has the ability to use, but we are just so far away from understanding the true nature of it because of the distraction, because they're burning the libraries and the ancient cities. But it all comes down to the breath. And that's why trusting your gut is a saying in the first place. It's because the real breathing really comes from the diaphragm, which is supporting the whole entire temple, which is our body. And the last thing I'll say is I'm going to take the Pats for the Super Bowl just to fulfill the understanding of, hey, listen, we're the United States, we're turning into the, we're the precursor for the one world government, we're the leaders in this, and we're just going to step on you guys. So that's where I'm going to get from that, but that's going to be my outro. I appreciate you guys. Shout out Rambo, shout out AJ, shout out Cody, the whole gang. Very awesome.
We appreciate you, Slouch, very, very much. Rambo, please give us an outro. Thank you so much also, Rambo, for sharing a little treat about the 30+ minute video that you have on your Patreon. Only $5 a month, everybody. $5 a month. Patreon.com/the truth codes.
Yeah, thank you. I also have a segment there on not in this 30-minute video. There's more than I could put in that 30-minute video. There's also a lot of Lucifer symbolism. Again, you're getting the definition of Lucifer. But yeah, I appreciate Slouch, you for being here. You clearly made an impact on the community. I also see another big benefit too is I know Slouch appears to a younger audience as well. I think they like to see a younger. They're receptive to wisdom from us. Some of from their age group more so than us. We look at our demographic. It's not really, for the most part, we don't really appeal to the younger audience, and Slouch does. He does as well.
That's a very good point. That's a very
to be
good
fair,
point.
not just even older people can. I can learn from him too. I've learned some things from Slouch as well. So yeah, I appreciate you, Slouch. Hopefully, it's not the last we see of you. And AJ,
Definitely won't be.
Yeah, AJ, again, I say this every week. Thank you for putting this together. We wouldn't all be here if not for you. And we saw how it was when you weren't here. It just wasn't the same. Yeah, so I'll just say that. I'm getting feedback.
So
I'll leave it at that.
Oh, shoot. Okay, well, I guess that means it's time to close it out. Well, thank you very much, Rambo, for the kind words. As always, this is truly the biggest blessing outside of my wife and my little Cooper over here. You know what I mean? Outside of this, I say that this is the best night of the week, and I do not take that lightly, okay? This is the best night of the week because it's people like you, Rambo. Shout out to you, Cody. He's hopefully fast asleep, getting his rest. It's people like Slouch, okay? It's people like every single person in the chat today that's always adding more into the conversation. That's what this is all about. Strength in numbers, pun intended, right? And you know what, Slouch? Hey, I appreciate your boldness. Just putting yourself out there, taking the Pats. They are the underdog right now. There's narratives on both sides, but it's even way beyond that, right? Like, at the end of the day, I even saw on your posts, you do all this work, sharing all this knowledge. And Rambo, I know you've seen the same thing. I've seen the same thing. You share all these things, all this knowledge, all this insight, and then you'll get a comment going, so who's going to win the game? So who wins? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So who's going to win? Like, that is not what this channel is about. Okay. We have our channels to share that. Slouch is kind enough to share his own opinion, about those things. I got my own Patreon for that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, I don't cater to those kinds of people. If that's all they care about, then that's all they care about. Okay. But Rambo, you've made my work, you've made my journey absolutely astronomical. And I'm so blessed to have you in my corner and someone like Slouch. Honestly, Rambo, you said it very well. Having someone like Slouch in our corner who is now on the younger end of the spectrum, right? We know the demographic of the folks that cater to us, and we very much appreciate them. But it's people like Slouch. Dude, Slouch, if you don't mind me asking, you're what, 23, 24?
I'm
24. Like yeah, 24. Dude, I didn't even remotely start progressing until I was 30. So like I could just imagine reliving my life knowing what you know at your age. You are a true pioneer, man. And
remember, I know it's like delay, but this started in 2020 for me. So I was 19 when this
There you go.
all started for me because of COVID, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. I was turning 30. So, you know, that's the main point, is that it's really cool to see people like you who have so much knowledge that, you know, like Rambo said, you educate me as much as I educate you, right? It's all about just us leaning on each other. And I'm so blessed to be a part of this community. And thank you guys so much. I very much look forward to next week. We'll see what happens on Sunday, right? Go Pats, I guess. I don't know. Per slouch. I don't know. I haven't leaned yet. I haven't put a post out on my Patreon yet, but we'll see what happens. But love you guys. Love you, Rambo. Love you, Cody. Love you, chat. You guys are all the best. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you guys on the next one, okay? Until next time.
So next time.
Peace.
Grim bloke. Yeah. And then, cha bruv. Yeah. You bruv. In it. Grim bloke. Let me tell you about this one time. I went through a porthole and snuck into the North Pole and got picked up in a Hyperborean DeLorean. They said they knew I was a Webster Merriam historian, mastered a numerical Gregorian, the hysterical mystic, no more than a Pythagorean. Conspiracy theory Therium in the etheric fear realm. I thought they were gonna take me to the crematorium in their Hyperborean DeLorean. Tested me on my Sumerian, Shakespearean, knew I was a numerical vegetarian, Aquarian, that I knew about the Tartarians, barbarians, Mars radium, aliens. Salt of the earth, solution Selenian. Spent the night in a Hyperborean chamber. I looked around and thought, bruv, who hired the painter? Hyperborean memoriam, auditorium, all cause I got picked up in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Introducing all love. Jack Ruff. Yeah. Invisible diamond minerals, crystalline and swimming pools, interdimensional realms of scrapping Catherine, Bahamas, Azores, Atlantis shores, mountains, temples, marble floors, seafloors, treasure and cities lost. Yeah, bruv, in it. Oh, sphinxes, pyramids and minotaurs, fruit grown in grove, luxuriant. In it. Inhabitants intelligent, closest seen to perfection. The whole experience, heaven to them, polar aurora, horizon beyond them. Flattened sky, lake of fire, core and flora, but bright comets, tornadoes, turbulence, not prohibition, more. Not forbidden, thought expansive, places massive. In it. Yeah, bruv. In it, oh. Just hanging around. Yeah. Telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Grim bloke. Jack bruv. In it. Just hanging out around. Oh, Jack bruv. 88892. If you didn't know, now you're forever exploring it interdimensional. Historian, oratorium. Just hanging around telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Just hanging around. Jack bruv. Grim bloke. 8892. If you didn't know, forever exploring the interdimensional primordial. Historian, moratorium, just hanging around, telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean.